Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another insane, deranged episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party! I'm deranged. No, actually, that's a great word.
Yes.
That is, because I do feel that way.
Yes.
I do feel that way. Deranged.
We know. We know.
Yes, we're all
We
deranged.
haven't labeled what's wrong, but we're hovering around it.
And-
Maybe
and-
we'll find out during this episode.
And who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold,
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
and we've got a wonderful topic.
Oh, it's crazy.
And we've
it's
tipped it a
mad.
bit.
It's
Yes.
unhinged.
Yes.
Unhinged.
Yes. And that topic is
What is it, man?
psychopaths.
Psychopaths. Best and worst psychopaths.
And when we say psychopaths, look, if you're in the psychiatric field, don't contact us and go, well, that's not really a psychopath. Because
This is
It's kind of a
movie,
general-
maybe TV
just a general
psychopaths.
kind
Yeah.
of anyone who's a little off.
I think
Yeah.
we know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think listeners have an idea, but we're gonna
Yeah.
enlighten them. of
Yes, we
some
will.
Best
Yes,
and worst,
totally.
in our opinion.
Right. And when I was thinking about this topic,
About psychopaths.
and
Who better?
who is the perfect person to guide us through this topic? My mind, of course, normally goes to sex, and
Really?
I'm like, we got to balance this thing out because we got the crazy,
Yeah.
but then sexy and crazy. There's nothing sexier than that, right?
No.
Right.
It's a storm of boners. Yeah.
Oh
And
my god!
So for our guest, we got
yes, who is our guest?
writer, producer, director, actor.
Actor.
My God, the amount of things this man has worked on. I
Tons
worked
of
with him
stuff.
on the Super Adventure team with Dana Gould, and
love that.
Classic.
Mark
Classic.
Tavares, friends of the show. I mean, Emmy Award winning writer for The Ben Stiller Show, Mad TV, Just Shoot Me, Father of the Bride, American Dad, Big Bang Theory. Come on, folks.
Big Bang
Maron,
Theory.
Lady Dynamite. Folks, it's Rob Cohen.
Rob Cohen!
Yay for me. Hooray for me, guys.
Emmy Award winning.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes.
That is
Do you still
awesome.
have it? Do you touch it every once in a while and just?
Did you shine it and
Yeah, every night I sort of share my day with it, and she doesn't say much, but it's implied.
So I just want to point out to our listeners, we have an Emmy Award winning
Yes,
writer
we do.
on our
That's right.
show
Yeah.
to help guide us through psychopaths. Best and worst.
Yeah,
Natural connection.
Rob, we've known each other for a long time,
Yeah.
and we, he's one of us. He's a fellow nerd. He loves all the stuff that
Awesome.
we love.
Science fiction, fantasy, horror.
Yeah.
He loves it
Yeah.
all. Monsters.
Love it.
And,
I love
and
it.
there's nothing more fun than a crazy person in a movie.
That's true.
Absolutely.
If it's done well.
If it's done well.
True.
And now, Rob, as our guest, would you like to start? Would you like to offer a favorite, or maybe not so favorite, or a
Memorable, just-
memorable,
Sure.
or something out there
Psychopath.
that
Yeah.
you think, listeners, you have got to check this out.
Well, how deep do we want to go?
We can go as deep as
deep.
you like.
Super nerd deep. If you
How
want.
deep is your love of this?
Well, I have
Great
so many
psychopath.
because I the same as a lot of my early relationships. I'm attracted to this.
Don't get me started.
situation.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's true, but I would say there's nothing better than a great crazy person. So I will say this as a compliment and as a barometer.
okay.
To me, Glenn Close and Fatal Attraction,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have that down.
That's sort of the gateway to one of the greatest psychopaths ever.
Yes.
And that's one that really she's almost like the poster child for
Yeah.
the crazy date.
Totally, and
Yes.
this is from 1987. The
Yep.
director was Adrian Lane, and
Yep.
and it was with Mike Douglas and Glenn Close.
It's like
and,
the one night stand that just comes back to haunt
Yeah.
you.
But see, here's the funny thing. Rob, you bring up a really good point. Because it was done so long ago,
Yeah.
so there are some listeners that may not be aware of it. I
Yeah.
remember when this film came out in '87, it was kind of like, the AIDS thing was kind of there, but
Yep.
not necessarily for heterosexual people
Yeah.
in a way. And there was kind of this feeling, no, don't laugh. I remember. Dude, I remember this. I remember.
No, but what makes me laugh is that the idea that you brought up something that made me think, like, wow, this was during the time of AIDS. And we were actually, Glenn Close made us more afraid than AIDS.
That's the funny thing. This is when, men, this is the 80s decade. This is the me decade. And it's like, Michael Douglas, I mean, for listeners who don't know, Michael Douglas, he's this successful dude, and he has a beautiful wife, a lovely house, a great little kid, and
who's far hotter than Glenn Close.
Yes,
Ann Archer.
But that was
so hot.
That was always the problem with the movies, that he's going to take Glenn Close over Ann Archer.
There's a pathology there.
See, Sean doesn't know because he's
happily married.
You're a happily married man.
Okay.
No.
I can't still.
No, you cannot
criticize the movie.
No,
okay.
no, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it was like a situational thing. So the wife and the kid they go off. They're on this trip. Okay, so he's home alone, whatever, and he goes to this company party, whatever, and it's like a situational. He goes to this. He's in this bar. It's in a bar type setting, and he's there, and he's loose, and he's free, and he's and he meets Glenn Close, who actually looks very sexy and seductive.
No, it's
in this
not
bar.
that she
And
doesn't
It is
look
the
sexy.
sexiest she's ever been.
And yes, and I will agree with you, Sean, that she is not as attractive as his wife. However, with the wife, this is the wife, a woman that you see every day, and again, this is the no, every day. In this, it's comfortable. They fall into a routine or whatever, and he loves his wife. But here
comes crazy.
That's but you see, she doesn't come off as crazy.
There's some signs.
But it's like, see, he's
But it's more the
talking.
thrill that-
Rob,
No, but I agree with you. She is a sort of an exotic way for him to sort of dust off parts of his brain and his repartee just at that party when his wife's out of town.
Yeah,
but then it gets a little crazier, and then he's a bit of a bad boy, and the fun overtakes him, and he immediately regrets it because his wife and kid are coming back.
Yeah.
But that's what's so great about Glenn Close in it, because you learn she had a history of being with other married men, and she finally decided, in her famous line, she will not be ignored. And he, unfortunately, is the guy that is going to get the payback for it.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
he just got lucky.
yeah. And she's so relentlessly terrifying in it.
Terrifying to the point where she pours acid on his car.
Yeah.
There's this famous rabbit scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, James, you know what I'm talking about. And what happens is,
Why does James suddenly know what you're talking about?
why you come down
You have a
to
rabbit
James?
story?
I'm just saying that for listeners who don't know about this film, it is an absolutely terrifying film. What this guy thought was going to be, there'll be this free little sexual encounter. It's not going to amount to anything, and then it just turns into this thing where it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
She is at first wants him desperately,
Big time.
and then she gets angry and does all these things to kind of manipulate and kind of get at him.
Yeah.
And it's
Kind of a little bit of the play Misty for me kind of formula.
Yeah.
Which was on my list.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
that's a good double feature. You've seen that movie,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
70s version, 80s version. Yeah.
But I want to point out also the director. If you guys forget, Adrian Lane, he's brought us such great classics as Flashdance. We remember that, and 9.5. No, and then 9.5 weeks. Just Flashdance.
Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, that's good.
But I'm
That's a
saying
good one.
he had a special thing about
Absolutely.
this sexually seductive, Dinah Dangerous types of thing. 9.5 weeks for God's
One
sakes.
thing that Fatal Attraction did well too, though, was the when they fight, they have that kind of big wrestle. I mean, they're like smashing into the walls, and it's like a real.
Yeah.
It was like a real brawl.
It's a fight. It's a real
between
fight.
a guy and a woman. Like it was really believable.
It builds and builds and builds. When you get to this climax that takes place in this bathroom, it is like Sean's. It is so.
I wish Carrie and I could fight the way
No,
we like
you
that.
don't. No, you don't.
No,
Not like
we
this.
used to when we were just married.
But it's funny. There's actually a
You
great.
could probably go away somewhere and
That's true. Rent a cabin and
revitalize
just
that fighting
fight.
magic.
and just to
Or
let,
go to our fighting cabin.
just go beat the shit out of each
Okay.
other again, just for old time's sake.
This is great. I did have a point here. What people need to understand too, that this film struck a chord in so many males. Okay, because that film was used as there's a great line in Sleepless in Seattle,
Right.
where actually Tom Hanks says Fatal Attraction scared every heterosexual man in America, and it's true. If anything, Fatal Attraction actually helped cut down affairs. I think in the
Yeah, no, it worked for me.
It also, the other thing about that movie that I don't want to ruin it for anybody that's listening that hadn't seen it, I think the ending is great.
Yes.
And you actually, you sort of root for his naughtiness but you also are equally terrified of when Glenn Close goes crazy. But then at the end, when the ending happens, you are so excited because it's a great action movie ending.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes, it is.
Without giving it away.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Although that wasn't the original ending.
That's true.
That's
There was,
right,
that's
right?
true.
No, I did not know that.
Apparently, the original ending was somewhat different and
Yeah.
was not as tied up neatly. And you can see the alternate ending on the DVD.
Right.
Her twin sister still exists.
Don't no.
That's good.
You know
That's
what?
good.
This is really good. Thank you,
Yeah.
James.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that
good
out.
choice, though.
But
Rob.
that is a great
thanks.
choice.
That's just my opener.
That
No,
is
that's-
a great.
that's
That's
a-
on my list.
That's a great
Thank you.
one.
Kudos
but-
to you, sir.
But
Thank you.
to
Kudos accepted.
juxtapose that one with Play Misty for Me, which
Yep.
is 1971,
Yep.
the film directing debut of Clint Eastwood.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
And Jessica Walter in that, who later went on to do Arrested Development. Her type of crazy, it would be great to see those films back to back because Glenn Close takes it up to like the nth degree
Yeah.
in her
Yeah.
crazy, whereas Jessica Walter was kind of a more familiar crazy. Like
Definitely.
the crazy girl that I would know, that I
Right.
would meet.
Yeah.
And
She's a Comic-Con masquerade girl that keeps showing up wherever
Right.
you are, and you're like, well, that's a weird coincidence.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What are the odds? Yeah. No, I would always fall for that. And, you know, Clint Eastwood is this DJ in the movie.
Yeah.
And he gets stalked by a fan. That's really it.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it's very similar in the sense of he doesn't have a wife or anything.
No.
But
No.
he just decides to, spend a little time with this lady and she won't go away. But she's Jessica Walter is masterful
Yeah.
in this role.
Amazing.
And if you haven't seen that one, get those two films and watch them together.
That would make great popcorn
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey, let's watch these crazy films. So, yeah. And by the way, I just want to point out, Glenn Close was nominated for an Academy Award. She didn't win, but
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's right.
She's
Right.
good.
No, she's great.
I love
Great.
the close. Anyone next?
American Psycho.
American Psycho.
Oh, you'll make
Good
my
choice,
wife
yeah.
very happy with that one because she
Now-
loves herself some Christian Bale.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
Interesting.
Christian Bale is great in it. I was a fan of the book, and I always wondered how the hell are they going to adapt this?
Right.
And it's different. It had to be because the book is basically unfilmable, and the book is also in first person, and the movie couldn't really
Right.
be that way. So it's got a different tone, very different tone by design. It had to be, and Christian Bale pulls it off beautifully, and it's the kid from Empire of the Sun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but he's not. He doesn't look like the kid from
No,
Empire
he's
from
grown
the
up.
Sun. He's grown up.
Yeah, I guess he was in Newsies before that, but now suddenly he's an American Psycho.
Yeah.
Right.
This is from 2000.
2000. And
Being a
it's-
This is
newsie will do things
This
to you.
is
Yeah.
pre-Batman.
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Pre
before that.
Batman.
No,
Yeah.
this was this the kind of thing that sort of put him on the map?
As an adult actor.
As an
yeah.
adult actor,
Yeah.
yeah. He made the transition. And looking at it now, it ages, I think, very well. It's on cable all the time. And
I do enjoy it.
I got to say I was a little disappointed, having been a fan of the book, because I wanted something a little closer to the book.
Okay,
Which,
give us a little synopsis, a little generic
Oh, how was
idea
it,
of
how was it
American
different? In
Psycho.
what basic ways was it different?
The book is truly disturbing. Some of the murders that he details with fetishistic relish are
Right.
enough to give you... Has anybody read it?
Yeah, Bret Easton Ellis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the things he does, I wouldn't even want to repeat. But
I just picked 3 names and strung them together. I can't believe I was right.
ding, 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 ding.
I guess the story is he's a yuppie. He's a
But he's in
a Reagan era type yuppie
Yeah,
who
and- yeah.
the last person that you would, at least at that time, expect.
So he's a financial
to
guy.
be-
He's in that
Oh
whole.
yeah, the
Yeah.
movie
Wall
really
Street.
it really emphasizes he's this great looking, well groomed, charming guy.
Financial guy. Does this take place in New York? I mean,
Wall Street, yeah.
think about
Bundy-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So think about it. Ultimate money, good-looking people, big business. Attractive. I mean, it's like all the things that you would want to try to aspire to be.
Yeah. And yet,
And yet it's not enough.
no, it's not.
Is it ever?
He must kill. He must kill. And then there's a lot of humor in the movie that I guess it's in the book if you look at the book a certain way. But, again, the disturbing passages in the book are just harder to get over. In the movie, it's just more of a satire. And it works. It works very well. And a lot of it is due to him and his performance.
And Christian Bale is good at the comedy. Yeah, he really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. You found it like comical?
Yeah, there are definitely comical moments.
You know what's weird?
It's dark comedy.
Again, it's so funny. We've had this conversation before. I didn't find any of it comical.
You're kidding.
No.
All that stuff about the business cards.
No.
And
Dark humor.
That
You're too
frightened
close
me.
to it.
No. Oh, I'm too close to it? Oh,
Yeah.
because I like my business card to look like a specific way. Is that what you're saying?
No, but
that is what
but
you're
that's
saying.
interesting.
No, but
Why don't you save that for business card party podcast?
Okay, yeah. But here's the thing. Okay, so for listeners, if you haven't seen it, look, it is a very violent film, and I can't say I root for this guy. It is really a disturbing film. But there's this whole sequence about business cards, how they look, the firmness of the card, the color of it, the texture of the words.
He's
or
very competitive.
The logo.
The logo, and he's going on and on about how passionate he is. But then one of his other buddies that's just as good looking and charming, whatever,
Just as good looking as Christian Bale?
No, I know has a card that has, I forget what
got like linen. Or,
no. But is it the he says it's mauve or I forget
embossed or something.
Yeah, but and he flips out. In his mind, not physically, he doesn't flip out. He keeps it all inside, but he literally like flips out. Oh my God, this other business card is so much better than what I have.
And he does what any Wall Street yuppie would do, and he slaughters him with an axe because of it.
Yeah. But see, I found it all. You found that scene funny.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just
It's dark comedy.
No, okay,
dark
okay,
humor.
okay. Well, look, if you want dark humor, you can watch, Army of Darkness, or something
No,
like.
no.
Yes, I
Well,
just don't. I just don't find. I just found it really
You
disturbing.
can't. We've established already. There's a level of darkness that you won't go to.
What do you mean?
That's true.
No, there are certain things like I hate to beat a dead centipede.
There you go. Bring up
true,
a
though.
centipede thing.
But it's true,
Yeah,
But there are
But
some
you-
very funny,
Yes.
fucked up moments in that thing.
Somebody here
That's
loves
actually
the
a good,
human
that's a good
centipede.
psychopath
and
choice for this.
He's great.
topic.
Yeah, we've discussed that film.
Yeah,
way
yeah,
too many
I
times.
wanna get back-
But if I could bring up one.
Well, can I just say one
No,
more
go
thing?
ahead, sure, go for it.
It's because something that people don't realize, that American Psycho was directed by a woman.
Mary Lambert.
Yeah. And isn't it kind of interesting, just the choices that she made when directing that film? One of the scenes that really got me was there's a scene where he has this girl in his apartment, and he has it's a what's the tool that he has?
The nail gun?
Yeah, the nail gun. And he's going to go behind her and shoot a nail, and he just can't do it. He can't do it. And oh God, that scene just kind of flipped me out.
Whoever invented the nail gun invented it for murder.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then
It is a
thought, well, we
great
could also
weapon.
use this in construction, I guess.
Well, I did
This
want to
murder tool would be great to build a doghouse.
Yeah.
See, here's the funny thing. Have you ever used a nail gun? Have
No,
you
but I
ever-
want to.
Okay, because
I'm saving that for my 80s.
No, I'm just saying I have used a nail gun, and when I used it, I didn't think, hey, this will be a great thing to use for a murder. I thought, what a great useful tool, because you could just go pop, 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 instead of just.
It's used
doing-
really well as a weapon in the toolbox murders.
Yeah, well,
By the way,
okay,
just
but
so you know.
Well, toolbox murders.
So
okay.
I mean, for James, American Psycho, 2000, Christian Bale,
And Larry,
yes.
Larry, I would say pick up the book, and then you'll see how comedic the movie really is.
But
in
it's-
comparison.
I think I might want to read the book.
But
I've
then
never read it.
You're telling me it's so disturbing. Why do I want to? I want to read that book. Then I'm going to be all freaked out and like.
Well, if only to prove the point.
Because it's horror.
Put some
Well,
hair
of
on your
course,
chest.
It should freak you out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
horror.
But
Make
I
it
don't want like
tougher.
mean, nasty horror.
Oh,
I want
unicorn horror.
No,
But you know it's
okay.
fake.
Okay,
Yeah,
listen,
right.
listen. So first of all, E.T. is not horror. Okay, maybe to you, but something like Silver Bullet, from Stephen
Oh
King.
my
Great
God,
movie.
that's a
Great
shitty movie.
I love
That is horror because it's a terrible movie.
No, the book, Sean. I love the book.
book,
You
the
didn't like
comic
the book, Chris? No,
Cycle of the Werewolf.
Right, okay. All right,
Okay.
let's move
All
on.
right, all right.
Fine,
all right. So,
fine.
Hey, I'm going to take us back.
Sure.
Wait,
I'm going to take us way back.
So okay, so you're
I'm gonna
going to do
take-
another one?
I didn't do another one. I commented on. Do you want to do one?
No, go ahead.
Go.
Must we fight?
No.
You'll get your shot
Yes, we will.
because you haven't been talking at all.
Yeah. Let's go.
Now, let's go back to 1931.
Wow.
Yes.
31.
I think I know.
Classic
Yes.
Fritz Lang movie
Oh,
entitled M,
Oh, great.
starring
Great one.
the great Peter Lorre.
Peter
Great.
Lorre.
And Peter Lorre, I mean, I think this might have been one of the earliest depictions of a psychopath like that, like a sexual deviant.
Yeah, predator.
And the story is there's this guy he's preying on children. And it's funny, like I just recently saw this again, and I always remember it as a silent movie because there's so many great shots in it. It's shot so well.
But I didn't think it was a silent. I thought it.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it that happens without dialogue.
Right.
That's how my mind
it's
kind of
very
remembers
visual.
it. It's very visual. Some amazing camera work. And Peter Lorre is so creepy, and he's weird, but then when he approaches a child, he's very likable, and he buys them a balloon, and he lures them into his murderous web.
I mean, who doesn't like balloons?
And then,
Seriously.
I love them.
Yeah,
I've got one right now that I'm stroking under the table. Now, he's doing all these murders, and then he's taunting the police, as psychopaths do, sending them letters saying, you're basically never going to catch me. And what happens is the police are confounded. They don't know what to do. They're trying to catch him. They cordon off all these neighborhoods. They still can't locate this guy. And it now goes to the underworld to take it over. Take over this investigation, find this guy, and they do. And what happens when they catch this guy, the criminal element of this German town, they put on a trial.
Right.
And they put him on trial. And to me, that's such a cool concept, the idea of the noble
Yeah.
Well, because he's so horrible, he's so bad that even to the criminal element, he's a bad guy.
The criminals are just criminals, but they're not sick.
Right. Yeah.
And it's also biting into their business, too.
Yeah.
Right.
So they got to take this guy, and so they have this mock trial.
Right.
And I don't want to give away the end, but it's a great movie.
It's really good.
And I think that's also another one that kind of made a big name out of Peter Lorre.
It did, because I think after that he went on to do The Man Who Knew Too Much, which the character...
Well, he fled Germany.
Yeah. But the character that he played in that is an evil guy. I wouldn't say go as far as saying he's a psychopath, but that really started him off on that career of just that creepy character until he gets to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Well,
or the Raven,
but that's way later on. We're talking like Hands of the Warlock and Beast with Five Fingers.
So good.
Right.
And it's almost to the point where he kind of got typecast as playing that weirdo.
Yeah.
Strange, creepy
Even in the
guy,
Maltese Falcon, he plays a weirdo.
Very much. Yeah.
But he's an elegant weirdo. But
He's an elegant weirdo, yeah.
But he's not a psychopath.
Well,
no,
I think he's...
No, Sean.
But when you see him on screen, you immediately think there's something creepy and weird about this guy.
Right.
He enjoys hurting people.
Yeah.
It's funny. There was an episode where we talked about certain actors that had amazing voices that really stood out, and Peter Lorre had a very special, distinct voice that is so it's almost like parodied now. There's a Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's parodied, and then in other there's a Star Trek episode where he's like his persona is parodied, but he is so great.
Mad Monster Party.
Oh, that's right, in Mad Monster Party.
Yeah.
And it's funny how Peter Lorre is so great doing those creepy kind of psychotic characters that it turned into something bigger.
And to go from German, because I wonder how creepy he was in the original German language.
Right.
Because when you bring him over here, the German accent adds one more layer of creepiness.
Well, it's like Bela Lugosi with his Hungarian accent.
Or Boris Karloff with his unique accent and the lisp.
And the lisp,
Or Vincent Price. We all love that voice.
Which I don't even know how to classify that.
Vincent Price.
Probably just flaming.
No.
He's flaming adjacent.
Yeah.
Come on, he's he's
love the ladies.
Hey, easy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So M is yours.
A good one.
I love him.
All right, that's great. That's a good one. Sean, you got one for us?
I got one that's by no means a classic movie, but
is this a good one or a bad one?
Well, it's certainly entertaining.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite psychopath performances. And that would be a film from 1974 called Impulse.
Oh, wow.
Sean, I don't know. Sean,
I'm so happy you brought that up.
No, Sean, I don't know this one.
You know this, Rob?
I know of it. I don't know the details.
This movie is also known as Wanna Ride, Little Girl. That's the alternate title.
Are you kidding?
This is starring the one and only William Shatner in his best leisure suit polyester high collar outfits. And he's this kind of gigolo who is going around lonely widows and kind of romancing them and marrying them and getting them to fall for this kind of investment kind of scam and then killing them off for their money.
Oh my! In a swimming pool?
Yeah, very.
No, come on, hey, easy there.
No, I'm just curious. I haven't seen the movie in a while.
I know the crack you're
There's
making
various
there.
ways that he offs these women, and his latest target is played by Ruth Roman. But Ruth has a daughter who's kind of like, she knows that there's something.
She's onto him.
Yeah,
Right.
she's onto Shatner, and Shatner. I mean, look, Shatner has played disturbed or kind of crazy characters, or characters that have episodes where they go crazy, but he's all out crazy psychopath in this movie in the best way, because he's kind of charming but super sleazy, and it's so like 70s in his wardrobe. And Harold Cicada, Odd Job, is also in the movie.
Yeah.
He's like a detective or something who's been following him and is onto him, and there's this crazy sequence where Shatner offs him, and it is a nutso movie.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine evil Kirk.
Yeah.
If someone didn't restrain him at all.
Yes. Or actually imagine the William Shatner when he did the insane Rocket Man version. He splits in three different It's like three different Shatners. There's like the pensive Shatner and the kind of like the uptight Shatner, but then there's like the crazy, loose and wild drunk Shatner. Imagine that drunk Shatner as a psychopath, killing women for 90 minutes.
That's a great one.
It's insane.
It's funny, Sean. I know that you brought that up once before, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to see it." I forgot that the name was Impulse. I think you own it, right?
Yeah. It's not.
You have to come over and.
Shockingly, it is not officially on DVD. That has
Shatner biding their time.
But it is really entertaining, though.
Is it something you could find on YouTube? You think
you can find gray market versions of the DVD and stuff, but like it's really
got to be on YouTube.
But I do want to ask. We've mentioned some great ones. You're saying that it's not necessarily great, but it's kind of a good character study. It's great to see Shatner. It's campy.
Yeah, it's very campy.
Yeah. I really do enjoy Shatner's antics, and if you enjoy that sort of thing, you'll love this movie.
And it's William Graffet directed it. He directed a bunch of cult horror films like Stanley, the Killer Snake movie.
That one, not so much.
Death Curse of Tartu. Of course, The Sting of Death, which is a killer jellyfish movie. So, anyways,
oh my God, that one is beyond horrible.
So that
was his greatest movie.
Wow.
But it's definitely worth checking
really
out.
peaked.
Okay.
For Shatner-holics, though, it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay, so look, you talked about a Shatner one. You said it's campy. Okay, well, I want to throw out a campy one too, but I'm going to say this is not with someone who's considered like a subpar actor. This person was considered a great actor. In fact, a great actress. In fact, there were two great actresses in this. And I'm talking about great psychopath movie from 1962, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Right.
And then the funny thing about this, the thing I love about this for listeners, and maybe it's been out in the news there, it's this, you have two amazing, great actresses, Bette Davis and Joan Crawford, who are in this movie about these two sisters. It takes place that the film kind of starts with, they start out young, and Baby Jane Hudson, it's kind of, she does vaudeville stuff with her father, and she's really, really great. She's very charming, adorable, cute, but she's really a horrible brat, okay? And so that's the Bette Davis character, and it seems like, oh, she's so gorgeous and beautiful and cute, and she's very, very successful. They make money. In fact, they make these Baby Jane dolls with blonde hair curls, and they sell them, Meanwhile, the other sister, the younger sister who's kind of plain and later on gets played by Joan Crawford, she is a different kind. She is not as flamboyant. Well, what happens in the movie as the girls grow up, you can tell that Baby Jane is kind of a nasty kind of brat. They both go into acting, and Baby Jane is now Jane Hudson, and the sister Joan Crawford is Blanche Hudson. Well, Blanche seems to have more success than
as
Jane
an adult,
as an adult.
Yeah.
And there's this scene where you can't really tell what it is because it's done in silhouette. But these sisters, one sister, they arrive at their house in a car, and one gets out to open the gate, and the other sister rams the car right into the sister.
So it seems.
So it seems. And so injuring, this is what you think, injuring the other sister. This takes place in, let's say, the 1930s, where now we're into 1962. And we're introduced to the Hudson sisters in present day. And it turns out that Blanche, Joan Crawford, who was a famous actress, is now in a wheelchair.
Right.
And Jane Hudson is kind of the caretaker. and feeling like, oh my God, I got to take care of my sister. And you think, well, where's the psychopath? Well, what happens is it's with Jane. And Jane kind of has this snap moment. She suspects that the sister, Joan Crawford, is going to sell the house because we don't have that much money, and I don't want Jane to be ordering booze anymore and stuff. And so Jane gets very upset and slowly but surely starts to do things. She tries to get rid of the maid, she
feeds her a rat.
Oh my gosh. And it's such a great scene.
We have rats in the cellar?
No, it's actually a great line. Now
Nice.
I bring this up in a way. It's kind of parodied now. FX did this great TV series called Feud. What's great about it is you have Susan Sarandon playing Betty Davis, Jessica Lange playing Joan Crawford, and it basically tells the story of the making of the movie, which I've absolutely loved. Everyone knew that these two women hated each other in real life.
Right.
But it kind of explains why. But you can
see the original movie.
Yes,
you have to see the original movie.
And I'm talking about the original, the 62 movie. Stick with it. It is directed by Robert Aldrich, who actually, didn't want to do the movie at first. He thought of himself as kind of a really great director, but Warner Brothers didn't think he was that great. But look, this dude went on to do The Dirty Dozen. He also did Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
Well, it was a surprise hit, I think, too. And it did. And I've said this before. It kind of starred the horror hag subgenre.
The horror hag, exactly.
You got like who slew Andy Rue?
No. But
what's the matter with Helen? You got a lot of movies like what the hell's going on with Aunt Jane?
That's right. But
a bunch of movies like that.
But for listeners who don't,
is there a quandary with Gertrude?
The listeners who don't really understand what was going on in the '60s, Hollywood was going through a really challenging time for movies. Television was
kind of
really
like
big.
the old generation.
Yes,
and the new,
So then you had people like, let's say, Kirk Douglas, who had to work really hard to get a movie. But if you were an older woman, like Betty Davis or Joan Crawford, to get anything was really, really difficult. Tough. And this was huge.
Yeah, and Betty Davis, what I really love about her character and the craziness of that character is how they capture this Arrested Development. She is stuck in that Baby Jane mode.
Right.
So even when she's walking around the house, just going through her day, she looks like a distorted version of the Baby Jane doll.
And what's amazing is, as a kid, she had this beautiful little voice. As an adult, it's kind of that raspy voice, but she still thinks she's got it. She actually puts an ad in a newspaper, thinking, "I need someone to help me because I'm gonna bring my career back." And she meets this guy,
Victor Bono.
who is terrific. He kind of like he's trying to like...
He's a con man.
He's a con man, basically.
Right.
And he kind of plays into, oh, yes, you're great. Oh, you're terrific. He wants to do it for money. But she actually thinks she's having some kind of a relationship with him.
Right.
And it gets to the point where when you get to the ending... everything that Jane does to her sister is so mean. It's so nasty. And when you get to this ending, when I saw it for the first time, I had no idea that's how this thing was going to happen.
Yeah,
and
it's heartbreaking.
It is, and it's so terrific. And it's funny, there's a lot of lines in the film, very famous lines that are like a parody, you ain't ever going to leave this house ever. You're never going to sell this house ever.
Also,
or the rats in the, we have rats in the cellar.
Also, SCTV did a great parody with Ed Grimley called Whatever Happened to Baby Ed.
Yeah.
And it was Ed Grimley and John Candy was in the Betty Davis role as like his Grimley brother.
Anyway, two terrific actresses, a really terrific movie. Betty Davis gives
that was
amazing.
Great. That was
look, and not to take anything away from Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford does a great job too. I think it's Betty Davis was the one who was actually sacrificing more. She was the one who was the crazy one. They do and
to voluntarily come off as grotesque.
Ugly, and pathetic. So a lot of kudos to Betty Davis. And then after that, she went on to do a whole bunch of these, like the...
where she did Straitjackets.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Return to Witch Mountain.
Hush, Hush, to Sweet Charlotte. Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. Well, no.
Yeah,
but
she did do a lot of like kind of genre stuff actually later in her career, actually.
Yeah. Anyway,
The Nanny?
Yeah, The Nanny. The Nanny.
Anyway,
terrific psychopath film.
Yeah, great call.
All right, Rob Cohen.
All right, Rob.
Blow our minds.
Well... I will say, I think this qualifies, but this is one of my early recollections of a psychopath that scared the crap out of me because he was so crazy. But it was Box the Robot from Logan's Run.
No!
That is inspired.
That's actually, when you think about it, though, you're right. He was kind of insane.
He was insane.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's actually
but
interesting.
It scared the crap out of me because he was so crazy, and I just couldn't figure any of it out. Like, why did he have the voice of an older African American man? and he was talking about protein.
Protein, plankton.
Yeah.
Fish and plankton.
He was,
protein from the sea.
He was an evil.
It's all here.
Yeah.
Fresh as harvest.
Exactly.
Jenny Agutter, get naked.
Exactly.
No, he doesn't actually say that line.
That was cut out.
Well, there is a scene.
He says,
no, it's true.
Jenny Agutter, get naked.
Well,
no.
he was thinking it. He was
we
he was
were all
actually thinking
thinking
of
it.
Michael York. But
Exactly.
Now,
Roscoe Lee Brown.
You know, you've touched on something that we all love. Logan's Run.
Yeah.
But
but
mean,
that's a great choice.
Logan's
Thank
Run.
you.
So it's in a world where everyone reaches 30, and then they basically have to go through this thing called carousel, and they're zapped. Okay.
Right.
And there are Sandmen, and Sandmen are the people who, it's their job, they're the police force that hunt down runners, people that don't want to submit themselves to
the carousel. Exactly.
And so what ends up happening is Logan, who is a Sandman, becomes a runner. And with the lovely Jenny Agutter, who is
gorgeous.
this runner girl,
Amazing.
They escape the Dome City, and on their way out, they have to pass through the land of Box. And
Yes,
Box
this encounter.
is this ice robot. There's this ice cavern.
Yeah.
Because I read the book too, so I know a little bit of
Sure.
where this came from. But the idea is that he's freezing. He's the guy who was in charge of freezing all the food. So when you see the movie, there's a bunch of big fish and tanks.
Right.
And so his job was to freeze everything, but his programming got messed up,
Yeah, and he went
now,
crazy.
And now he's freezing everyone.
And he's
Right.
got a very interesting design. And I think you made a Halloween costume.
I went to a science fiction convention in San Francisco where my dad helped make a Box costume out of like a washing machine box.
That's
and
amazing.
it was really good. And
Wow.
we won second place.
And
We got second
where
place.
is the figure of that, by the way?
I know, really?
God.
Oh my god!
Wow. You know what? I'm gonna have to send a letter to Sideshow.
Yeah,
I'm
or
gonna have to-
Distinctive Dummies.
Distinctive Dummies. Yeah,
But a Box, he's shaped. He's got an interesting.
He is
shape,
kind
and he's
of
all
box shaped.
Isn't he kind of all chrome?
It's like Captain Pike if he was in
Yes.
a
Yes.
silver upright box.
And taller.
Disco Pike.
Yeah,
taller.
and Disco Pike. It had arms and sort of tank treads on the bottom and a silver face, like sort of silver surfer.
Chrome, yes.
But it's chrome, yeah.
Yeah,
like a weird
But
jaw.
very
like,
shiny.
yeah.
Very shiny and sort of. If you really thought about it, which I didn't as a kid, you could kind of get away from him because he wasn't that fast. And
He was like a Dalek.
It's like,
you could
yeah.
knock him
Push him
over.
over.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he had the thing. Didn't he have a thing?
He had an
freeze?
arm that would shoot this freezing
Freeze,
spray.
right, yeah.
And so what he would.
But all you'd have to do is just get on the other side of that spray.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but
or
what he,
knock his arm down.
Yeah, right.
So what he would do though is, as runners, other runners would come through this area. He would kind of befriend them and then freeze them.
Right, so that's
right?
the idea is that they never made it out.
They
of
never
the-
made it
So,
out.
so all the runners previously had been frozen by Box.
This is what we
Right.
suspect.
Yeah.
You
Right.
see,
And
you
so
see
it
them on the wall.
Yeah, you see a line of all these frozen bodies.
Right.
And there's a scene that was shot for the film that doesn't make it in the final cut.
That's right.
And it's taken from the book too, where he wants Logan and Jessica to embrace nude, and then he's going to sculpt them, because in this ice cavern, what he does for fun when there are no runners is he makes walruses. And,
He's got time.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah, he got a lot of time on his hands, And
Wow.
It's either that
But they
or
filmed it?
they shot it, and if you look online, there are
I think there's stills.
there are
or-
stills
yeah.
of them embracing,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
never made it to the film.
Wow.
And it never made it to the DVD.
I know.
I mean, come on.
right?
I mean, you
It's
know,
got to be around
someday.
somewhere.
I tell you that if they could put that, the special features, including
Oh my
the
God.
scene.
You know,
I mean,
Rob,
I
now
know
they-
you'd buy that.
Jenny Agutter,
Oh my God, beautiful.
Yeah.
If there's a
I-
few
I-
more frames of
if
Jenny
we could
Agutter
get
naked, I'll take it.
I'm telling you, if we could get her here, no, I won't. I won't go.
You know, we're
But
going to try to get her on the
Rob,
show.
No, but she's fantastic.
I mean, she's done other
she's great,
stuff
yeah.
too.
She's wonderful, though.
She's great,
But
yeah.
she's gorgeous and great in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And but we're talking about Box, and you got me onto Jenny Agutter.
Rob, it's interesting that you said, because as soon as you said that, it made me think in some ways HAL 9000 is
Yeah.
kind of a psychopathic.
Yes, that's a very good
computer.
point.
Yeah.
He goes nuts.
We're talking
right?
from the film 2001.
Yeah, yes. I mean, in some ways,
Stanley Kubrick.
He's a psychopath.
Well, really?
He's a computer,
Really?
but
Really?
yeah,
Are you sure?
I mean, he's certainly lost kind of his connection with reality. What's going
Isn't
on,
he
right? Or
the thing that drives him crazy, if I remember correctly, is that he's sort of given contradictory programming.
But you know what? We
Yeah.
don't find
Yeah.
this out. We don't find this out until 2010, I believe.
think.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess in some ways it's self-preservation.
But
for him.
isn't that kind of what a human mind does when you get too many different contradictory thoughts or whatever? The wiring's wrong.
And he's thinking that taking human lives, he's going to just has to do it because he has to.
The mission is more important.
Yeah,
than
so in
everything.
some ways it is.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe not as quite off the rocker as Box, but he's getting there.
Well, when you add the bit of camp to a robot,
Yeah. But don't you think if somebody made a radio-controlled box toy right now, I would just like to say the protein line that you said, and people would go nuts for it.
Absolutely. We have
there's
got
a market, and I'm surprised that across the board, when it comes to Logan's Run,
Yes, where are the
any
regular
figures of any
Well,
kind?
the Mego company did make prototypes. There were at the time, like in the mid
For
to
the
late
show,
70s.
for the TV show.
I think for the TV show, yeah, there were prototypes, and there's like customized figures you can find, but they never officially made them, which is too bad because the Sandman with their guns and
I'd get them all.
Now, isn't there a film in development right now that
There's always been one,
There
right?
has been.
Yeah,
Like
forever.
decades.
It's like the
I
$6
mean-
million Man, which should never, ever be made. It's been in development. It's the greatest show of all time.
Because of just the loss of the dollar, I think.
Yeah,
right there.
it's like, why bother? Like,
the $6 million Man doesn't mean the same as it once was?
no, it's the
Yeah.
best.
Right.
It's the greatest show opening.
Yeah, you can get a medium-sized
Yeah.
home in Studio City.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Right.
If somebody died in it.
You know,
$6 million,
not to get off the subject, but I loved that show when it was on. Loved it.
Sure, but
I did not love it.
I loved it. The toy to me had a design flaw, but that's another story.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't want to
because
get on
we've
to-
told a
Yes,
number of
yes,
times.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I have
Okay.
that toy at my house,
Me too.
in the box, untouched.
Oh, there you go.
I have Oscar Goldman with the exploding.
do you have the Fembot?
I do, but
Dude, you have
and I have Bigfoot. Yeah, I love that show.
You're my new best friend.
I love that show. It's the
and
greatest
they're
show.
in the boxes.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're the best.
You are awesome.
but I also have versions that I would play with that roll up.
Oh,
skin.
yes.
Wow,
okay.
okay.
Good.
Cool,
Good.
cool.
Yeah.
He's got the two. See?
Oh
Yeah.
my
He's
God,
got
that
the
is
two.
There's the play version and then there's the keep version.
You
Yeah.
are
Jeez.
Do you have
see,
Maskatron?
No.
Oh, that was like a made-up villain character.
Yeah.
toy, right?
I have
I remember
Maskatron. I have
because he had
Maskatron.
like the Oscar Goldman face and
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's got to be a lot of fun.
Now,
with
is
the
he-
kids, I am Oscar Goldman, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a new mission for you.
Yeah. I've got a
Sit at my desk.
I've got a plaid jacket.
but is he in the box, Matt?
No,
Oh.
because I play with them. Because he has
Yeah.
arms that shoot off
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I remember that.
Oh my God!
No, okay.
How much fun could that be?
Rob, that is so cool.
Yeah, I love
that's
that show.
awesome.
I couldn't believe it.
I'm with you, buddy. Oh,
Okay.
Jamie Summers. Do you have a Jamie Summers?
No, never got into the Bionic Woman.
Well, I know. I mean, I would want to be a
that
complete.
was in
be a
some ways a
whiner.
better written
Huh?
show,
I
actually.
thought she was a whiner.
Really? I thought she was super hot there.
Yeah.
Tennis
yeah,
coach and a
I-
teacher in Ojai, and
You know what? You didn't
I
like
want
it.
somebody
I
did
want
you
a
a favor.
Fembot.
You didn't like it because they have an issue. She has this issue, and she kind of breaks it off. That's why.
I didn't like it because if somebody graciously saves you by making you bionic, don't be a jerk about it. Just say thank
That's
you.
a very good point.
Just say thank you.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's my soapbox.
Special lessons here on Monster.
How
Thank
many
you.
times have you made someone bionic and then nothing?
Yeah.
I wish I could still count because I don't have that many fingers. But I
it's just
remember
rude.
Yeah, and it's just I understand why Steve Austin was pissed, but
Right.
Jamie Summers, like they were in a
It's a
skydiving
parachuting accident,
Yeah,
right?
it's like-
Yeah.
And she always had it like, Steve Austin had the cool
Yes.
sound for the eye, but she had a weird sound for the
for
ears.
her
like,
ear. But she also had to.
was like,
This is from
no.
somebody's routine, but I think it might even be Dana's. But she had super hearing, but she had to move her hair out of the way to hear.
Oh my God! I didn't think about
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's
she
like
can
the
hear through
yeah.
walls,
Yeah.
but not her hair.
Well,
That's like
okay.
the George Reeves Superman
Yeah.
joke, which is that you'd shoot at him
Yeah.
and he'd have his chest out, and then you'd throw the gun at him.
He
and
winces.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Now this is great. 6 minute dominant, but I want to get back to.
Let's go
Psychos.
back.
Yeah, I want to get
Sure.
back to.
All right.
Psychos.
All right,
Okay.
so that was great.
That was a good one.
Box.
Yeah,
That was
Box. Very
I
good.
was
Oh, I have
not
a weirder one.
That,
But
no,
I'll wait.
but that's
I'll wait
good.
my
That's
turn.
fantastic.
Because it doesn't have to be exclusively to
Yeah.
humans.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
My next one might not be.
All right, James.
Well,
give it to us.
This is not as out of the box as that one.
Thank you.
Out of the box. Funny.
We haven't really talked about this that often. We've mentioned it because how can you not? But Kathy Bates is Annie
Oh,
Wilkes
that was on my list.
in Misery,
That's a great one.
1990
Amazing.
adaptation, very faithful adaptation of a Stephen King novel.
Fantastic. Very faithful.
James Caan plays author Paul Sheldon, who writes these pot boiler romances with a main character named Misery Chastain. He decides he wants to be a true literary serious author, so he decides to kill off the character in a manuscript in the trunk of his car.
That book hasn't been released yet.
Has not been released. He drives into a snowbank in Colorado, gets pulled out and rescued by a nurse who claims that she's his #1 fan.
Mm-hmm.
First he thinks, oh, well, I'm lucky. She's going to take care of me.
This is Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates.
As Annie.
As Annie Wilkes. And very soon he realizes that she is unhinged and, in fact, very, very unstable. And the fact that she is his biggest fan actually becomes a huge liability because she's got some major expectations for how this book should go. Does not expect him to kill off the character and is enraged that he does.
Yeah, doesn't she? He lets her read.
He lets her read the manuscript.
And she like flips.
She flips out and forces him to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's looking at ways to try to escape because he can't, his legs are
it's busted.
They're mashed potatoes.
Yeah, he's been hobbled.
And the more he tries to escape, the more she does things like hobble his legs to keep him from escaping.
Which is a very famous, famous scene.
Well, you can't look at one of those hammers again, without thinking of that.
So imagine to listeners if he seems to be healing, he seems to be okay, he tries to escape, and she gets him back and says, hey, we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Right.
And
so the more he tries, the worse she makes it for him.
But she puts this block.
In between his two, ankles, right?
Ankles.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this with a packed house, and I remember thinking, she's not really going to do, this is more like a threatened thing. And she has this line where she says, it's really for the best. And she takes this giant hammer and just whips it down. And James Caan, he's so great. He's so great in this movie. But, I mean, that movie just freaked me out at that point.
And the way that it's shot, too, when they do the hobbling scene where you get just a flash of the leg just going sideways. The foot going sideways.
And the director, the funny thing is the director is not really a guy really known for horror.
No, it's Rob Reiner.
Yeah. Rob Reiner.
And yet he had adapted Stand By Me from King's The Body.
Very different, though, kind of story.
Very, very different, but, showed that when it came to a Faithful King adaptation, he was great at it.
Right, well, because both movies are very character-driven. That's what,
And I just wanted to add that it was Stephen King, but William Goldman did the screenplay.
Right.
Amazing writer.
And she won an Academy Award, and she brought this other dimension. So if you read the book, incidentally, if memory serves, she actually cuts off his feet and then cauterizes the ankles.
I don't remember that.
In the book?
I don't remember that.
Wow.
Oh my God.
But the hobbling with the hammer is more effective.
It is, yeah. Cinematically, it's more effective.
Yeah, because if she just took out a saw and cut out his feet in the movie, it would have been like Friday the 13th.
Right.
Yeah,
it would have been a gore scene as
Right.
opposed to something where I wince thinking about it.
Right.
But she did bring something to the role that was just a little, okay, she's a sick woman, and there's something you can even just empathize, just a trace by the end of the thing. And I won't reveal the ending, but,
she does play crazy very well. There are times where when she goes to her dark place and she's just kind of vacant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those moments, which are very different from when she's happy about the writing,
but
or
she's also there's
angry because it's not going the way she wants it to.
There's that lovable scene she has with the pig, here's my pet pig kind of a thing. And, and you think, oh, I like this girl. It's weird because you can see the extremes, one end to the other. And she's frightening.
And she's right about, she's also a very good critic. Because when he... So he's writing the first version of the new Misery one where he brings her back.
Yes.
And it's too easy. It's too simple.
No, she got pissed off. She says, let me tell you about I remember a scene.
Yeah, the old cereals.
And I would get up and I'd say, that's not how it happens. That's not the cockadoodie way it happens. She uses this word, this cockadoodie.
Right. She doesn't like the language.
No.
Language.
No. And so she says, it has to be true. It has to be right. Rewrite it again. And what he realizes is, oh my God, if he doesn't do this correctly, he could die. So what he does is he not only figures out a way to bring back this character,
but he kind of gets into it.
I didn't read it as he got into it. I read it as he just kept writing and writing. He just puts in another story, and another story. Well, because he's doing it for time.
Well, maybe because we read the book.
Well, the challenge of him having to rewrite this thing sort of becomes intertwined with the challenges that he's facing being stuck in this claustrophobic environment.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with that.
Right.
But he has for him to make a good novel that she'll recognize is truly his work, his good work, he has to do good work.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has to put
can't just,
himself
like-
in that mindset.
You can't just do autopilot.
And it also, I think, is also a survival tactic.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Literally.
I mean, listeners might be wondering, well, so what does he? How can he be gone for such a long time and no one notices? Well, there is notice, and there is a sheriff kind of on the outskirts of town that tries to kind of follow up.
Richard Farnsworth.
Who is just?
I thought it was Don Knotts.
No, and he's really
Checking
wonderful.
all the cabins in the
But there's
area.
this.
Although, in talking about differences between movie and book,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Matt, the way that she does the sheriff in the book is different than the movie, and it's more horrifying in the book.
I don't remember. Please.
It has to do with a power mower.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Then I would go back to I think what Rob Reiner did or Goldman. I think the choices that they make it is horrific and it is terrifying, but not to the point of like a Friday the 13th movie, you know.
No.
Well,
And
it's
I
different.
think that
It's a lot
helps
more-
it.
Yeah, it's
no,
psychological.
yeah, it's a great movie.
One thing I do remember, and I don't remember if it's in the movie, but I do remember in the book where she would go to her screaming place. And I always thought that was funny. And like, you have a cabin where you just...
Don't you have a screaming place here?
It's the same cabin where Carrie and I fight. Yeah.
It's all of NoHo, right?
Sometimes I just go into Best Buy.
Yeah. You have to.
These prices are too good.
Okay, well, I wanted to toss this one out to you. There's a film that I saw. It could maybe more be in the thriller area, but I really found this film horrifying. I mean, it frightened me. And I'm talking about the film from 1986, Blue Velvet, directed by David
on my
Lynch.
list as well.
Yeah.
And we're talking, there's a character, it was played by the amazing Dennis Hopper. He plays an absolutely horrifying character named Frank Booth. And I have to say, this film is not for everybody. I remember seeing it with my wife, a buddy, and a few other people, and it was like we were split down the middle. Half of us hated it, the other half loved it. And the story, it has a really great cast.
What side were you on?
I was on the loved it side.
Which is interesting to me.
No, well-
because it doesn't seem like it would be the type of...
Yeah.
It's so perverse.
It is, but there's a comeuppance about it, which I really, really like. But it has Kyle MacLachlan that some of you remember from
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
and Dune.
and yes,
and other David Lynch
So,
things.
and it has the lovely Laura Dern in it. Has a wonderful, lovely. She plays a lovely character, and Isabella Rossellini.
yeah.
and
She almost represents purity.
Yes, Matt.
Yes.
But the story kind of evolves around Kyle and there's this discovery of an ear in this little area, and it kind of leads to it's somebody's ear,
Severed ear.
a severed ear. And he's not a detective or anything.
No, he's not looking for trouble at all.
No.
Yeah.
And so here's this regular guy in this regular town. There's this cute regular girl and he just gets involved by his curiosity.
Like a Hardy Boy.
Exactly. But it leads him down this rabbit hole into this really sick, twisted, perverse world. There's Isabella Rossellini, who's kind of this dancer, is being framed. Singer.
Torch singer.
Yeah, and she's actually being framed by this really horrible man, and this horrible man is the psychopath. And this is the Frank Booth character.
Yeah,
and
that's
there's
Hopper.
a scene when you first see him, when he comes in, the language on him. I mean, first of all, talk about saying the word "fuck" everywhere. I mean, he says
A lot of fucks.
a lot of fucks. But he has this scene where to get high, he kind of like almost rapes Isabella Rossellini, like dry humps. But the way he does it, he takes this mask,
huffs, like nitrous oxide?
nitrous
Right.
oxide, and there's this canister that he turns up and he breathes in, and it's so twisted. I mean, when you're watching it,
That's my safe word.
it's so twisted. And
Mommy?
I knew
Mommy, yeah.
a couple little neat stories about this. David Lynch, when he was directing Dennis Hopper, there's so many words fuck in it. Okay, when he would go up to Dennis Hopper, he would say, when you say this word, and Hopper was looking at him, go, it's fuck. Come on, just say it. And I guess David
he's
Lynch
a little bit of a prude, right? In real life.
And the other thing that I thought was really interesting was this whole gas thing that he was doing was so terrifying, but it was actually Hooper thought, hey, wouldn't it be wild if it was like a special kind of like helium? So when he did the line, he would go, "Mommy, Mom," and Lynch, who's known for doing outlandish, wild, weird things, goes, "That's a little much.
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But this character is so mean. He's so nasty. He's so brutal. And as you get towards the end, where this whole thing comes together, I mean, there is kind of a comeuppance thing, and that's I know what you're thinking, Matt. You're thinking, Larry, it's really violent, but it's like the ending is satisfying to me.
You like it when the bad guy gets his
comeuppance. Which may be one reason why American Psycho I wasn't as big of a fan of it, because I wanted him to have his.
Right, there's a more nihilistic kind of ending.
Well, there's a sort of other level about American Psycho that's been theorized, that the whole thing takes place in the guy's imagination, so the murders may not actually have even happened.
Yeah, but so
the movie comes off like that a little bit
at the end. Yeah.
So look, I just want to point out to listeners, I'm not sure that this is the one that I want you to run out and watch. Just be aware that it's really kind of.
Oh no! If you haven't seen Blue Velvet, see Blue Velvet.
Okay, but I'm saying not everyone likes it. It is really
give
twisted.
it a try.
Yeah,
Take a first date to it.
No. I don't know. No,
it is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
Well, famously, one person who didn't like it was Roger Ebert. He went on this whole tirade about
Roger
how,
Ebert didn't like it?
The way he did that all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the scene where Isabel Rossellini is full frontal.
Yes.
He railed on that because he said he felt so uncomfortable for her as an actress.
Well, that's the point of the scene.
That is the point.
Yeah, he couldn't
Sissy.
separate.
Yeah,
he couldn't separate what Lynch was trying to do.
So for listeners, yes, there's a full frontal scene of Isabel Rossellini, but see the point that when
we'll
Lynch
put it up
does
on
that,
Facebook.
No, we're not doing
that scene is brilliant.
It
is.
is.
It's great.
Yeah.
It does make
And
you
she's
uncomfortable.
so
That's the
gorgeous.
point. But that's the point.
Yes.
It's so disturbing.
Yes,
so
yeah.
as much as I respect Roger Ebert, I disagree with that particular.
Yeah, I mean,
review.
Now he's been wrong about a lot of things.
a few things. Okay.
Well, I've got one, if I could.
Go.
Hey.
And this is a two-pronged one. This is, we're talking like best and worst.
Yeah.
This is best and worst.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Okay. Best, Cape Fear, 1962.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, this is Robert Mitchum as Max Cady.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen this original, it's Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck, who I love.
And
He's so great.
Max Cady is this really bad, fucked up psycho weirdo who gets out of prison, and Gregory Peck put him in prison, so now he wants his revenge. The revenge is a slow build. It's a lot of subtle fucking with him. Going to places where he's at and disturbing him and, paying unsolicited calls on his family members and killing the family dog. And it gradually builds and builds to a fiery confrontation at the end. This movie is brilliant. Robert Mitchum is so great. I remember there's a scene in this movie where it's Robert Mitchum and Max Cady has this girl in his hotel room that he's been hanging around with, having sex with, and he's getting his clothes on, and she's on the bed, and she smiles at him, gives this little coquettish smile, and he smiles at her, and then the smile quickly turns into this cruel grimace, and the girl knows she's in for it now.
Right.
And the door closes, and
That's all.
You know, that's all you need,
Yeah,
right?
It's your mind.
It's your mind. And it's so frightening, and it's all that little subtle change in his face that sells it.
It's the acting, yeah.
So now, let's cut to
Yeah.
1991. Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear.
Great actor. I mean, great director. I'm sorry.
A lot of great people involved in this production. We got Nick Nolte, I love.
Yep.
Robert De Niro.
Yep.
Fantastic.
He plays that
He
Mitchum
plays
character.
Max Cady.
Jessica
We got
Lange.
Juliette Lewis and Jessica Lange.
She's amazing. Yep.
And it's too much. It's
So-
it's the
so
same
over the
story.
top.
It's over the top. There is a scene where, remind me of the actress's name, where he's on a date with her.
Ileana Douglas.
Ileana
Right.
Douglas,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. and it looks like things are going to get sexy, and then all of a sudden he takes a bite out of her cheek. And like, come on, you don't need that.
Yeah, I was surprised too because Scorsese. It's Scorsese who's like just such a lover of cinema and such a like.
Well, I'm sure loves the subtleties of that film like I do, the original.
I guess the idea was to go the polar opposite way and just make everything graphic and
cheapen it,
but over the top to the point of like ridiculousness.
Well, and forget about even the over the top violence of it. There are shots that are almost Evil Dead-ish.
Yeah. Way over stylized.
Over stylized, doors closing and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and in an Evil Dead movie, it all works because it's part of the same tapestry of the mood that Sam Raimi tries to set. Then he uses that as a place to bounce comedy off of.
Right.
But in this one,
the storm at the end is like
it seems just like, everything is just like, look at me, Mom.
Yeah.
Look, I'm making a movie.
So you're familiar with both films?
I'm very familiar with both films. We actually on the Ben Stiller show parodied the De Niro version.
Yes, I love that sketch.
Yeah,
was that you?
No, I did not write that.
That was hilarious.
That's a great one.
That was all written by Ben. And he played the De Niro character.
Yeah, it's Cape Munster.
Yeah. And, so
Eddie
he's
Munster
Eddie
gone
Munster,
crazy.
yeah. But I agree with you. The Scorsese version is such a wank where it is so, you're exhausted by the over-stylized bullshit
everything.
of that movie.
Shots that don't, like...
You don't need
so
them.
I need some calm before you do that.
It's everything that terrible 90s movies had.
Yeah.
But with a great cast, and you just sort of go into it just like, this is an exercise. This
is an experiment that
Nobody-
should have stayed in your acting class.
Nobody walks around missing that movie.
No.
Well,
ever.
You know,
it's too bad.
It's kind of a fuck you movie.
You know, I just want to go out on a limb here. I mean, sorry guys, I hear what you're saying, and I understand. I actually did like the movie.
So you like women getting bitten in the face?
No.
That's what you're trying to say, right?
No, getting back to somebody getting their comeuppance. You know,
But do you like faces? Let's not. Do you like faces?
Yes.
Do you like women?
Yes.
Do you like Ileana Douglas?
Do you like teeth?
Well, what does the teeth have to do
Well,
with
it's
it?
yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes, I like teeth.
We don't make the rules.
All right, I'm just
What?
collecting information.
So our guest is making the rules? Is that what
Yes.
you're
No.
That's just
I
logic.
asked you 3 questions. Very simple.
That
Sean
shows
Spicer.
the brutality of the character. Robert De Niro is frightening. He is very, very
Really?
frightening.
There's
he
good
does.
performances. But it's just like it's a circus.
The funny
There's
thing
one
is,
scene that I like in that.
Sean, everything that you said, I actually agree with you. I agree.
Do you
yes,
like
it's
it? Do you like it better than the original though?
boy.
Okay, that's come
you know,
on.
part of me feels like it's.
Have you seen the original?
Yes, sir, I have.
Robert Mitchum.
Yes, and Gregory Peck, who I love. I love them both.
Great at the top of their game.
Yes. I'm just saying, Sean, that what you guys are doing is you're saying, it's terrible and it's so over the top, and it is over the top. I would say see the classic first. I would see that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna give you that.
Good,
Okay,
good.
and I'm just saying that I didn't hate the film, the Scorsese film.
Right.
And yes, I agree with you. Stuff is over the top. I agree with you, but there is something about the comeuppance that I really liked. I felt very satisfied.
Actually, even I'm not giving it away, but even that ending of the Scorsese version is so over the top.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon.
The original is fine in its simplicity.
Okay,
I
and
understand
maybe it makes you angry that there's a film. It's a really great film. Why try to remake it?
No, it's not that.
Really?
It's not that. It's if you're going to remake it, either update it, or do something different with it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't. And I guess in a way they did do that, but it was the wrong thing to do. Updating it in their minds was to basically make it almost like a slasher film, but an artsy one.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say that because there is another classic psychopath type film that was remade that actually made me very angry. The Scorsese thing, it didn't make me angry. I did think they made it a little bit more elaborate, and yes, it is over the top. So I'm just repeating myself.
There's one good scene in that I did enjoy.
When in the theater scene in the
movie theater.
the fingers in the mouth.
In the movie theater with the cigar is great.
The cigar, right.
That to me that was like but see that's simple. You don't have to do a smash zoom.
I agree.
Right.
Sean, do you got one for us?
I'm going to go obscure here, but this is a.
Oh, I love your obscure ones.
This is a movie I don't know too many people know about. This I think it's like a Swedish co-production. It's a movie from 1971 called The Night Visitor.
Wow.
This is a really good movie.
James, do you know this one?
This is with Max von Sydow.
I do not know.
No, I don't know this one.
Trevor Howard.
Guy that keeps escaping from a prison
Max von Sydow is this guy named, he just has his first name Salem. and he's this guy who is in this like maximum security castle-like asylum, prison. But you find out he's been falsely accused. He was like accused of killing this guy with an axe. But really, it's his...
And he used a hatchet.
Yeah. Right. But no, he's falsely accused, and it's really his sister, Liv Ullmann, and her husband who committed the murder, but they got away with it, and he knows it. And basically, he wants revenge on his sister and her husband. So he has this ingenious way of escaping from this asylum. Like he's in this like castle-like building way high up, like it's several stories up, and it's in like this winter wasteland, like it's snowy outside. But
how could anyone escape from this thing?
Escape? But there's basically what he does. He has this ingenious way of getting out each night and like running in the snow and just like his underwear and bare feet. He kind of sneaks into the house and sets things up, and he kind of keeps visiting the house back and forth, and people start getting suspicious, and they think, how's he escaped? And they go back, and he's back in his cell, and it's just this psychological thing where it's really good, really stark, very well acted, and it's really creepy.
Let me challenge you for just a second. Now, would you say that Max von Sydow's character is a psychopath or mentally deranged, or is he just hell-bent on revenge?
Well, I think he's kind of a psychopath because it is a lot of our revenge, but he's so determined in his way to do it, and he has his own kind of unique way of how he's going to do it. And he does start killing people, but I don't know. To me,
does he kill innocents too? I forget. I think I saw this a long time ago.
Yeah, I think so, but it's. I mean, I don't know. It strikes me as he's pretty psychopathic.
His revenge has taken him to a place where he's gone over the edge.
It's really good, and it's very compelling, and it has a great, not to give anything away, it has a great ending of what happens with him, his fate at the end of the movie. But it's definitely worth checking out.
I'm gonna watch this.
And what's the year on this again?
1971.
And it's called
The Night Visitor.
The Night Visitor.
A Swedish cast, but it's an American movie?
I think it's like a Swedish co-production. But it's really good.
Interesting.
Visitor.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
I have to put that on my list.
That's what I used to call diarrhea when I was a little kid. Night visitor.
Well, speaking
now it's the all day
whole
visitor.
New meaning. It's very creepy.
All right, Rob, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I mean, this is again very weird left turn.
Ooh, okay. Left turn. I'm intrigued.
I will say it's a double layer of bizarreness. I would say Harvey Keitel and his robot Hector in Saturn 3.
Wow. Interesting.
Wow. You've made a lot of fans.
Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah, Farrah Fawcett. Kirk Douglas.
That movie gets a lot of flack, but there's something about it that I keep coming back to it for. I don't know why.
I think it gets flack because it's horrible.
It is kind of horrible. but it's entertaining, though.
It's entertaining because she's terrible.
Yes.
They are forced together as a couple.
Yeah.
You know Kirk Douglas is loving every minute of it, and she's hating every minute.
There's no chemistry whatsoever.
No.
And it's her first film ever when she's like at the top of her game.
Yeah. And a hint of nipple.
Yes. There's an itty bitty little bit of nudity.
Yes.
And
actually, there's more nudity, unfortunately, with Kirk Douglas than there is with her.
But he thinks he's killing it now.
What's amazing? First of all, I love Kirk Douglas, but it's like when I see them in space, my first thought was, he's like 30 years older than she is or something. I mean, it just
this
seems
is like
so
1950s casting, right?
Yeah. If you look up the description, I can't remember if it's on IMDb or something. I checked before I came over here because I'd always been fascinated by it. But it's like, it says, May, December romance or however they describe it. But it's so, the movie's so bad and
so
you
bizarre.
forget that Harvey Keitel's in it.
And
but
his voice is dubbed.
Yeah. His
voice is dubbed by the British actor Roy Dotrice.
Yeah, because it was a British production.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very good
Dotrice or
Dotrice.
I don't remember that at all.
It is. Yeah. In fact, on the Blu-ray extra, of course, I have the Blu-ray of Saturn 3. But Roy Dotrice has interviewed about that, saying, they wanted me to dub. I thought Harvey was fine, but they didn't want that accent.
It's also
in the film.
The robot, and you could watch the trailer.
Hector.
It's online. It's like whenever you see the robot, it's always like a shrill, high-pitched sort of mechanical, like, and it's annoying anyways, but it's actually a pretty scary robot.
It's evil short circuit.
Yeah, it's evil short circuit.
So without a head, it's just eyes.
It's just those two
eyes. In a nutshell, Rob, you want to just, for the listeners, Saturn III, what basically is the
story of Saturn III is that there's this spaceship that is circling Saturn, and it's sort of this research ship, and for one time a year, for 20 days or something, there's a communications blackout because they're on the dark side of Saturn.
Right.
And that's when shit goes weird on Saturn III. And Farrah Fawcett, if I remember correctly, has never seen Earth.
Right. She's very kind of naive about the world. Everything she knows from Kirk Douglas.
Yeah. I would use the term simpleton.
What is this? Solid food?
Yeah. And so she's always like, oh gosh, I can't wait to go to Earth. And Kirk Douglas is sort of this weathered old guy who's on there.
But he likes it there because he just got heard all to himself.
They're the bosses of this ship. And Harvey Keitel's the bad guy, and
this should be called Third Wheel.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel's you don't need him in the movie at all.
No, well, he kind of like impersonates a doctor or somebody scientist who's coming.
Right.
Yeah,
and so then Hector, the robot, which is like Harvey Keitel's creation, which is sort of like he's trying to create a perfect being, like a godlike creature.
Right.
Yeah,
and so Hector is chasing these two people down, who are the only two people on the ship.
Right.
And so there's a lot of running and slow-mo doors closing.
But it's also because Hector, he directly connects to Hector through his brain. So it really is, in the insanity from Harvey is directly transferred to Hector, the robot.
And then there's like, the other thing that's great about that movie is there's a lot of very slow-mo shots of Hector grabbing Farrah Fawcett's head and wanting to inject something into her eyes.
Yes.
But
we've all been there.
It's sort of what... like Alien or Aliens or something, a great movie. This is the perfect 80s version.
And you know
it's a tax dodge, the whole thing.
And the craziest thing about it is it's directed by the man who directed Singing in the Rain. Stanley Donen.
Yeah, it's an insane,
it's crazy.
movie.
Yeah. I think
I don't know why they removed the songs.
It's crazy. And it's so, and not to eat up more time, but I have always connected Saturn III with Peter Boyle in Outland. I have a problem with administrative types, but those two always seem similar because Peter Boyle. Outland is such a good movie.
I like Outland a lot.
High noon
actually,
in space.
Yeah,
I really do enjoy. For all its flaws, I love it.
With lots of exploding heads,
totally,
which is great.
Totally,
yeah.
It's Saturn III is absolutely worth watching the trailer online because the setup for the trailer within the trailer easily takes a minute of if we were to do our worst in a world before whatever.
Right.
This is still terrible. Like you guys can edit it in or not.
And yet again, if they made a figure of Hector, I would get it.
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
No,
I would have to come with Harvey Keitel.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. But Kirk Douglas, he's got a girdle on.
Oh my god, that was when he was.
He had to be 60.
Yeah,
easily.
well, he did some weird movies then too.
Yeah. Final Countdown.
The Fury.
Yeah.
He did crazy genre films later in his career.
But he was a big star, and
Massive.
he wanted to keep working.
Of course.
Yeah, this was.
Well, they were short days because he had to be in bed by 8.
Now
still,
come on now.
Like, what, you mean I have to do a love scene with Farrah Fawcett? Okay. It's like, really.
That would be my weird.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Another one out of the park.
But a Hector figure, Sean. Again, we're going to have to write a letter.
Yeah.
We have to do Box and Hector.
That movie also does have one great opening sequence, though, where Harvey Keitel takes the place of the guy, like he kills the guy who's going to take his place.
Right.
I don't know what it is what is supposed to be happening, but there's like they're in this locker room in space, and he pushes the guy into like an airlock or something. But there's some kind of grid that the guy's body falls on, and it just literally shatters. It explodes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but it's really
it's
cool.
It's symbolic.
Yeah, it's like really cool.
The thing that, not to monopolize this with more Saturn III things,
please.
But I remember when I first saw it, there's all these chases through the spaceship, and the thing that always stuck with me is the doors never closed vertically. They always open and close triangularly. So
it's the future.
Because
it's futuristic. But I just thought, why would they build these doors on the spaceship that they need more material and they close slower But the whole terrifying part is when Hector's on the loose is they're just barely getting in front of these doors and then stop by these doors. There's so many doors in this movie, and it's just these slow, cumbersome, like they went through some scrapyard at some British at Pinewood.
There's always a producer.
Yeah.
Look, we spent a lot of money on this doors.
Yeah, feature the doors more. Look, I got a door guy.
All the money went to the doors.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how often you get Kirk Douglas on the screen. I want the doors.
The robot doesn't need a head. Just get
We're having kookaroo because of the doors.
I am going to say this. I'm a fan of Robbie the Robot. I'm a fan of Lost in Space Robot. I do think the robot is pretty cool. In fact, the poster is actually pretty cool because the robot is featured. And
there's the poster.
I think in some ways they were trying to do maybe kind of like a robotic alien. Alien.
Yes.
Instead of an alien, it's a mechanical alien. Robot. So they're trying to do that.
Nice one, Rob. That's a really nice one.
That's a goodie.
All right, James.
Well, we can't get through an episode about psychopaths without mentioning Anthony Perkins, and of course,
most famous.
Of course, Norman Bates. Much has been discussed about him already.
What's the film?
And the development. The Psycho franchise, the way that his character was brought back for Psycho 2 by writer Tom Holland, who we've had on the show, which is a very sensitive treatment, which was marvelous.
But we're talking about the film Psycho.
Actually, that's not the Anthony Perkins role that I want to talk about. I want to talk about a movie that I have mentioned on the show before a long time ago, a movie from 1968 called Pretty Poison.
Oh, yeah.
Directed by Noel Black. And Perkins plays a rehabilitated, he comes out of an institution, apparently he was like an arsonist, and he meets a young high school majorette. She's like the cheerleader. Tuesday Weld plays her, and she's really cute and hot.
Yeah.
And she seems to be interested in him, but she's really manipulating him because he's manipulatable, and he's affable enough, but she gets him to kill her mother. And
Played by Beverly Garland.
By Beverly Garland.
Who actually had a hotel close by.
Yes. This is a movie that I think not a lot of people have seen. He's not, I can't say that he's a straight psychopath in the movie, but he is unhinged. And
good enough.
I like to sort of think of it as a bridge between his Psycho role and his later Norman Bates roles, is where you're looking at him as being, well, he's a little bit, he's a sick guy. In Psycho 2, certainly he's manipulated.
Right.
So Pretty Poison is almost like a prelude to those other treatments of the character.
Well, listen, I got James. I want to piggyback on that because there's another Anthony Perkins movie, which I don't think many people know about this one, which I think is a really pretty fun movie. It's 1989, Edge of Sanity.
Oh,
Edge of Sanity.
I thought you were going to say Crimes of Passion.
No, that's one too. But Edge of Sanity is a Jekyll and Hyde story with Anthony Perkins. And it is a strange, garish, gory, twisted movie where in this version, Anthony Perkins kind of becomes Iggy Pop when he turns into Mr. Hyde. It's really bizarre. Yeah. Super pale and the hair coming down of
So he does
face.
a physical, it is the same story. He takes something and changes into another person.
Right. And it's more like he has all these sexual frustrations and he goes out and he has sex with women and he kind of becomes like a sex fiend basically. But it's a very strange movie. Pretty gory and very twisted. It was 1989, so it was kind of towards the end of his life. Actually, he wasn't around too much longer after that. But I don't think it did too well when it came out. But it's good. It's an unusual Jekyll and Hyde story. He's kind of pretty sympathetic as Jekyll, but he still has these psychopathic tendencies inside that come out when he becomes Hyde.
I think Pino Donaggio wrote the score for that.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I may be mistaken.
It's a very strange movie, but it's worth checking out.
And then Ken Russell's Crimes of Passion, where he plays this Bible thumper who's obsessed with Kathleen Turner.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a good one too.
I love Ken Russell.
Well, look, I think you just kind of glance over this, so I'm going to bring it up. I appreciate that you brought up a different movie that I was not aware of, but I do want to acknowledge the film Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho from 1960 with Anthony Perkins. I mean,
What movie is this?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
familiar.
What? We got you.
Oh.
We stumped you.
Classic burn.
Yeah, you did. Okay. It's
Way to roll with it, by the way.
Anthony Hopkins?
Okay. So the film that was made in
Alfred.
1960. Yes.
Hitchcock?
It's like the classic psychopath film.
Yeah, it was one of the
And it's funny. I'm actually debating I've been showing my daughter a lot of classic films, and I was about to show her Psycho, and I kind of gave her a basic idea about it. She was very interested, and my wife goes, I don't think we should do that just yet. So I
was 10.
You were 10?
I was 10.
I was pretty young when I saw it too.
Okay, she's 11, so maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
all
I would say that, and I know we've talked about this too. I don't want to get too much into detail, but that same year, Peeping Tom, was also another movie that was also a very classic kind of psychopath.
One of my
movie.
favorites of all time. Michael Powell.
Yeah.
Are you familiar?
I don't
with
know that
one?
movie. No.
Oh,
Cara
Peeping Tom.
Boom as this kind of
Wow.
filmmaker, and his father tortured him horribly.
And
It's a British movie?
A British movie.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Michael
Obviously.
Powell, who's this
amazing director.
amazing director
Did
who
Brown
made-
Shoes.
Yeah,
Fantastic
made all
film.
these beloved films.
Artistic, very artistic.
Very artistic, very much loved in Britain until this movie. This movie ended his
He
career.
really did.
Really?
Because
Yeah.
it was so lurid.
It was very perverse and very. I mean, basically, he would film his victims.
And he got this from his father because his father
he was
would
killing
film
them.
him as a
Wow.
kid and torture him. And so now, as an adult, what he would do is he would stalk people and he'd film them while he was killing them. And how he would kill them was he had a knife on the end of his tripod.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's messed up, man.
What year was this?
1960. That's
1960,
what's
the same time.
fascinates me is the same year as
Same
Psycho.
year.
Yeah,
It's really great.
But see,
It's really good.
but see, Psycho. One of the reasons why it was so successful and famous. This was a big campaign when you went to movies, you could kind of go in at any time.
Yeah.
This was the film where Hitchcock, and whether it was the brilliance of Hitchcock or the movie studio, they were saying, "Look, the ending is so amazing.
Yeah.
You can't go in this film. It's like we are gonna when the film starts." We're not letting anyone in,
Yeah.
and you can only go in once the film starts.
Right.
And that was
there's
that the first time
that
that
was
had
the
ever been
first
used?
time officially. So there was actually shots of when they were telling people about you can't just come in the middle of the film. They actually filmed people trying to, or it was staged. People
Right.
trying to go in there.
What a
Oh
great
no,
gimmick,
okay,
yeah.
no, it was part of the campaign.
Sure.
No, it was
No.
part of the campaign.
No, that's
and
great.
of course,
Yeah, that's great.
one of the brilliant things about this film too, not to jump back about, but you had a very big actress in Janet Leigh.
Yeah.
Who and you would think with someone who was that big of a star, you would expect to see her through the whole film.
Right.
Well,
She's barely in it.
Well, this character
yeah.
actually gets killed off, and it freaks you out. You're like, whoa, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah,
the,
that
the
definitely
main
wasn't done-
character.
up to that point, you didn't see.
It
that,
had
like,
never. It
yeah.
never
Yeah,
been
yeah.
It was
done.
following
True.
her story. It
So,
was
and
her,
then that sort of like knocks you off your center
Totally,
of gravity.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
now you have no idea what's going to come next.
So then it's like you have the sister played by Vera Miles and then Janet Leigh's boyfriend. They kind of try to find out what actually happened to her. That takes them to this hotel or
Right.
motel where they find Norman Bates, and apparently he and his sickly mother are taking care of this motel.
Right.
And
well, it was a movie too. Like we've said this too before, where the horror and the threat was coming from a so-called normal
Right.
person. It was it was the insanity. It wasn't like a monster from space. It wasn't like a mad scientist. It was like the person next to you.
And he wasn't a outwardly threatening looking
Not-
person.
exactly.
not at
He was
all.
a
Yeah, very
milquetoast
meek.
Exactly.
guy.
You brought these two films, these a classic film that you liked, and then the Scorsese film that you didn't like.
Right.
Okay. And I said, well, I really liked the classic, but there were things about the new one that I liked. Psycho was remade.
Yes, it
and
was.
It boggles my mind. Vince Vaughn
Oh, my God.
plays the
Anne
Norman
Heche.
Bates character. Yeah, Nan Heche. And the thing that
the
bugs
worst.
me about that is, and you can appreciate when Scorsese redid that film.
Cape Fear.
Cape Fear. I mean, he did things differently.
He did make it his own.
He did make it his
Yeah.
own. But in the new remake of Psycho,
Gus Van Sant.
yeah, and he goes,
Yeah.
it's so perfect. I'm going to film it exactly how Hitchcock. I was like, what the hell were you thinking?
And well, what he was thinking, if I'm not mistaken, is that wasn't he trying to basically just make a color
Yeah.
modern Psycho?
we
Yeah, it was
don't
shot for shot.
We don't need that. And I would say to listeners, I mean, I would imagine like most people have seen that, but if you're a younger person that hasn't seen it, see the classic, the 1960.
Oh, yeah.
It is thrilling. It is just
There are people that I
engaging.
know that are our age that
Yeah.
won't watch a black and white movie.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Somebody like that.
Well, the Anne Heche one with Vince Vaughn, it's insulting. And when I see that, when I just see a clip of Vince Vaughn doing his thing, I expect him to go, "Hey, let's have a bachelor party now!" Woo! You know, I just can't.
Him and Jack Black, right?
Yeah. Well,
on Skull Island.
Don't get me. So that is a remake.
I hear they're remaking the remake of Psycho with Jack Black.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's my nightmare.
And they're using all of Hitchcock's outtakes.
That's great. That's great.
Well, it's interesting to note that both the Cape Fear and Psycho remakes both used Bernard Herrmann's original score.
Oh,
because
well,
you
he's
can't
great.
improve on
He's
that.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
True.
In the vein of Psycho, I would also like to throw in a couple. One is kind of a lurid ripoff, which would be the movie It.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah.
Roddy McDowell
and
it's
baby
and it's-
in the
it's about Roddy
Oh, you're
McDowell
thinking of- no.
is the curator or assistant curator of this museum, and they find a golem. Mm-hmm. And
big statue.
Now he is He is nuts.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he will borrow some antique jewelry that he gets
Right.
from the museum, bring it home, and put it on his dead mother's mummified corpse.
Wow.
Go, look
Yeah,
what I
it's-
got you
yeah,
today,
it's
mother.
totally-
And I'm like, total ripoff.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very, very elaborate Roddy
Yeah.
McDowell. I mean,
Wow.
it's
But then what happens is that, and it's kind of, it reminds me a little bit of Willard too. Like there's a girl that he kind of likes,
Yeah.
but he's sort of timid
Right.
in his job. And he finds this golem, and the golem is actually really cool.
It's
and
kinda cool.
Where's the action figure?
I
of
know.
that?
Yeah, I actually have this on 16 millimeter.
oh, Sean,
Wow.
you got to write a letter.
And it's hilarious, good fun, but it's a blatant ripoff.
Wow.
Except
It's
now
fun,
it's
though.
like it's Psycho, but instead of me being crazy alone, I'll get a golem. And I'll bring the golem to life.
Yeah, of course.
And use the golem as my tool for revenge against anybody who ever slighted me.
Imagine Norman Bates if he had his own.
If he had a
golem.
golem. And that's the movie. And do I say that it's a great movie? No.
No.
But it
Super fun, though.
is a lot of fun.
It is
a lot of fun.
Fun little story. When we did our Celebrity Encounter show, we had Brian Peck, who actually told this great story of Roddy McDowell and how when he was asked, so what was like the worst film you ever worked on? And without hesitation, Roddy McDowell said, "Oh, It."
Yeah.
And so it's funny. I know Matt has it on 16 millimeter.
I do love it.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene where he finds the little scroll that he has to put in the golem's
Right.
mouth to bring it to life.
Right.
That's
And so the thing comes on, he goes, raise your left hand. And he goes, raise your right hand. And then he's delighted, right?
Yeah,
And so then he
course.
just goes, I am your master. But that's not camp enough, right?
Right. Yeah.
So then he has to say it again. And he does this little flourish thing, almost like jazz hands. He goes,
Yeah.
I am your master.
Yeah, and his hands kind of come up.
And
like-
it's awesome.
But you know that when they were shooting it, the director probably said, "That's great. Let's move on." Right?
No, I have-
just give me one more. I have an idea.
Yeah, I've got an idea.
Just please.
I think it'll work.
Yeah, I really am in the head of this guy right now.
but we want to stress though to listeners, it's kind of like in your fun category. It's
No,
not
it's
in
totally
not
fun.
in a
No,
crazy
yeah,
movie.
you're not- you're-
like
Can't be 60s
There are
monster
no
movies.
scares in it.
Fatal Attraction, I'd say C, Psycho C, you know, but this
No, but
is like
you still have to see.
This is
No, Sean.
You need to
Monster
see
fans,
that.
classic monster.
Come
fans
on,
have to see
you'll
it.
love it.
Okay,
It's
have a
great.
couple
Come-
drinks
Come
and-
to my house and I'll show it to you.
Anything with Roddy McDowell in it.
Yeah.
is fantastic.
I love
and he's
Roddy
great in it.
Mc-
He's
yeah,
great in it.
yeah,
And I would
yeah.
also like to recommend the William Castle movie Homicidal,
Oh yes,
which
yes.
is sort of like the I don't know, half sister, I guess,
Yeah,
of Psycho.
Because
Wow.
once Psycho was very influential, you had a lot of movies with Psycho, like Hysteria, Paranoiac.
Yeah, yes, right,
Crazy.
right.
Right.
Homicidal is fun, and there's a sort of a gender bender
Yes, yes.
LGBT kind of
Yeah,
element
yeah,
to it.
which is pretty good,
that
though,
is-
yeah.
And an amazing performance by Jean Arliss.
Yes.
wow.
Look it up.
I've heard that statement so many times today. Gelson's is like,
Did you?
yeah, I can't get away from
Did you
Gene
see her?
Arliss. No.
This has been great. We've a lot of great.
Yeah,
great
and there are a
ones,
million
yeah.
different things
Yeah, we get
that we could go to.
other
I mean, there's so
psychopaths. Yeah.
many sort of like on the line psychopaths too, but
Yeah.
I would like to, if we could right now, just kind of do a quick lightning round.
Okay, just a quick...
Just throw out a couple titles of things that are at least ones that you like or honorable mentions.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw out one that I really like, and I think it's... I can't believe we forgot about this, but from 1991, Silence of the Lambs. This is directed by Jonathan Demme. Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, it's such a great film. Jodie Foster is this FBI agent, and she's actually asked to kind of, use this Hannibal Lecter character as to help them solve this.
Yeah, he's a serial killer
murders.
who has been imprisoned.
Yeah, and been in prison to kind of help find another serial killer.
And that serial killer, by the way, is also genius in that movie.
Totally genius.
Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill.
Fantastic.
Is so great.
The character, Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, he won an Academy Award, and the character was so great, they went on to make another film, and that is like an ultimate psychopath character. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to throw out another classic Hitchcock film, Strangers on a Train.
Yeah.
Great movie.
The great Robert Walker, who basically makes a deal with Farley Granger, like, hey, I could kill somebody for you, you could kill somebody for me. And of course, Farley Granger thinks it's just a joke, and Robert Walker is serious. And he's just charming, and so kind of like, yeah, let's do this, it'll be fun. Like, it's so matter of fact and very, very creepy, very chilling. Great movie.
Love it.
Classic.
Great movie.
Michael Madsen in Reservoir Dogs, a showpiece scene in the middle of the movie where he tortures a cop.
Horrifying.
That's a good one.
Stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw out a couple here. First of all, the movie Deranged from 1974, which is really about Ed Gein, but they call the character Ezra Cobb. Ezra Cobb. And
played by Roberts Blossom.
What a great name.
Yes, so good.
It's really good. It's done almost kind of documentary style, and it takes some license with the Ed Gein story, but it's really good and effective, and it's a fun, low-budget chiller.
And it's so gruesome, you kind of feel for the guy, too, like in a weird way. He's sympathetic while doing these horrible, ghastly acts.
There is a pathetic element that makes you kind of like, oh, if only you got help. I would also want to throw in there, I think this is one that you recommended to me. This is not necessarily a great one, but you have to see it just to believe it. A movie called The Manipulator.
Oh my God! Wow. It's on my list too.
1971.
Oh my God! How do you
starring Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney
as an insane Hollywood makeup man who kidnaps women.
Lana Anders from Dementia 13. He just basically keeps her prisoner in his warehouse of props, and just for 90 minutes, it's like being stuck in a tiny room with insane Mickey Rooney for 90 minutes,
doing his one-man show.
He like forces her to do his show with him, and he smears makeup all over, and she's just it's insane.
Wait, what's the date on this one? What's the date on this?
It's 1971,
and it's called
The Manipulator. It's also known as B.J. Lang Presents, because the character's name, his name in the movie is B.J. Lang, but it is out there. It is disturbing and insane.
It is really crazy, and I'd also like to recommend as a psychopathic killer, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Tura Satana. As Varla. And, if you were ever to fall in love and yet be dominated by a psychopathic killer, it would be Tura Satana.
Of course.
She is rough and tumble. She's a go-go dancer who spends her weekend with her go-go dancer friends, racing their cars and murdering people.
Of course.
Rob, you got one last one for us?
Yeah, I'll give you 1.5. I mean, Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
Oh, sweet. Classic. Yeah, great.
Great, crazy person. Yeah. And I would say Christopher Walken in True Romance. That scene with Dennis Hopper.
Oh my gosh.
He's so mentally ill, but that scene I just think is brilliant in how unbalanced he is.
So great. So great.
And you're terrified from the word go because you know he's crazy. Yeah. And you obviously know it's not going to go well for Dennis Hopper, but but Christopher Walken is so screwed up. It is, I think, one of the most brilliant whack jobs in movies.
The whole Sicilian
story is
great.
It's amazing.
Rob, you've been absolutely brilliant on our show tonight. I want to thank you so much for being with us.
And do you have anything that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, is there anything going on that you're working on?
This can be a plug fest.
I would say I had the great honor of co-directing the new Mystery Science Theater 3000 with Joel Hodgson.
I'm looking so forward to fans will love that. Yes.
April 14th on Netflix.
Awesome.
The season drops, as the kids say.
Are you a rapper?
I have. But it's really fun, and it's all credit to Joel and great, horrible movies.
I know a couple of the titles. I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
Trailer.
They show a couple of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and really great guest stars. And so I would say if somebody wants to check something out that's cool and it's all
absolutely
all hell Joel, but
awesome.
April 14th.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
And it's
really
been a pleasure.
Yes, please come back again.
This
was okay, right?
No, I love it. I love it. I blame the high winds.
As do I.
Yes.
Time for listener shout out.
Shout out!
Actually got a few this time.
A few?
First of all,
I'm excited.
A shout out to Mark Pitta.
Mark
Pitta. Friend of the show, Mark Pitta.
Who was a guest on our Worst Cliches episode.
That's right.
And is a big fan of our show.
He's
Listens all the time.
Listening. Yeah, it's awesome. And Mark actually suggested this topic.
Yes,
great topic.
He left us a Facebook message about doing an episode on psychopaths, and he actually posted a poster for Tattoo. Bruce Dern is a great psychopath.
I have not seen this.
Oh, I'm not. I don't know this one.
Very memorable.
Sean, you know this one?
Maude Adams.
Can you give us just a little tiny synopsis?
Maude Adams from Octopussy.
Well, yeah, it's basically Bruce Dern is this unhinged tattoo artist who just becomes
is that a stretch
yeah,
for Bruce Dern?
who becomes obsessed with Maude Adams and wants to
get in line.
No, I love Maude Adams too.
Yeah,
and it's just his obsession grows, and it's kind of erotic and twisted and weird, and it's definitely worth
erotic.
visiting. It was a kind of controversial movie when it came out in 1981. It's kind of your classic Bruce Dern.
So it's Taboo.
No, it's Tattoo.
Tattoo.
He's a tattoo. artist.
Tattoo
Yes.
from 1981.
Yep.
All right.
I'm there. I'm gonna watch
the whole
it.
Bruce Dern persona. One of the things, the only thing I remember about Graveyard Shift, the Stephen King giant rat movie, is that Brad Dourif is in it, and he's got a line that says, "I'm not like one of those psychopaths you see Bruce Dern playing in the movie."
Actually, I like Graveyard Shift. Actually,
Yeah.
It's not,
I actually
it's
do.
not terrible.
And of course, we have to mention Bruce Dern in The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Of course,
as a psychopath.
But he's not a psychopath.
Well, he's kind of a psychopathic mad
He's
scientist.
more of a mad scientist.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have to mention Brad Dourif in Voyager, Star Trek Voyager.
Yes.
One of the few episodes I enjoyed of that
okay.
show.
Yep.
Okay.
Where he is a psychopath.
He is a psychopath.
A psychopath in the 24th century when we've supposedly fixed all that.
Yeah.
And yet
that's cool.
he's a nutball.
Yeah.
Also, he actually he's a psychopath as the Gemini killer in Exorcist 3.
that's right.
He's very scary in that.
Yes, he is.
Gives a great speech in that movie because he's kind of like possessed by the Gemini killer, and he's kind of a confusing.
Like he kind of wants to be possessed.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. He's
great.
chilling in that.
He's
So
great.
Mark Pitta,
we got to get him on the show.
Mark Pitta, shout out.
Mark Pitta, and let's have Mark on again soon.
Yes,
huh?
we should have
That
him
would
on.
be
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Also, I want to do a shout out to someone who most recently bought the Monster Party cap off eBay.
What?
Right.
Our eBay
Wait,
store.
what?
Our eBay store Monster Party cap. We had a sale last week.
Oh my God.
Dr. Cayman Unterborn from Arizona State University, School of Earth and Space Exploration in Tempe, Arizona.
Really?
So,
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, thank you,
Wow.
Dr. Unterborn. And I hope that this means the Monster Party cap will be traveling up in space soon.
That is so cool.
Come on, make it happen.
Cool.
Make it happen.
That is
And,
awesome.
Finally, I want to read you guys a message we got from our fan Walt Keegan in Jersey.
Oh, Walt.
Keegan,
Love
how's it? Oh,
Walt.
you doing okay, Walt? We're thinking about you, buddy.
Walt said, I wanted to share my first Monster Party fan run-in at the comic book shop I work at, which is Main Street Comics in Milltown, New Jersey. I was wearing my Monster Party cap as usual, and a customer said, "Hey, I like your Monster Party hat." I had to ask, "You like the podcast?" Because sometimes people think it's the old video game, so I wanted to be clear. He said, "Yes, I especially love the more drunken episode."
Wow.
Walt said he then declared his love for Larry on those. And Walt says he found us through Dana Gould.
Hey.
Cool.
And Walt himself found us from a mix of Dana and also Matt being on Jimmy Pardo's podcast.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
So Walt says that it would be appropriate for us to do a shout out to this fan named Max Sterling.
All right, Max.
Max?
Sterling.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks,
we'll have
buddy.
a drink on you.
Yes,
Yeah.
a fellow Monster Partier in New Jersey. And hey, if you're in Jersey anywhere near Milltown, stop by Main Street Comics because we've sent Walt a stack of Monster Party flyers so you can go pick one up there.
Great.
Oh,
and you know
that's
what?
awesome.
I think that we're about due for a real drunky episode.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We can get some alcohol in us.
Sometimes I'm afraid of doing those because maybe I'll like start slurring or say something that doesn't make sense or something.
We gotta get it out
every
sometimes.
episode?
No, I don't do that for every episode.
Yeah.
Larry, you don't have to be drunk to say something that doesn't make sense.
Well, look. We'll talk about speaking and not making
Monster
sense.
Slam.
Hey. I'm thrilled that you brought up Walt Keegan's Place, but I also want to send a special thank you to one of our wonderful sponsors who's always been very supportive of us, and I'm talking about Taylor White and his store Creature Features.
Creature Features.
Located at 2904 West Magnolia Boulevard in beautiful downtown Burbank, here in California. I mean,
it is very nice.
He, along with Eric October and Matthew Abrams, have always been very supportive of us. And
They're lovely folks.
They always put us in the newsletter about what we're doing and our guests and stuff. And I just want to say a special thanks to those guys and give a special shout out to Creature Features.
Go to the store. Go see all their art exhibits.
Yeah, they have these great art exhibits, but also the other thing too is, I mean, if you are in New Jersey or some other place, I mean, you can you type in Creature Features and they have a whole eBay store and they
there's a lot of stuff online.
Tons of stuff, and
we all have many things.
We really do. So again, shout out to Creature Features.
And you can sign up for their weekly newsletter, and you'll see our bulletin on there every week, thanks to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's also remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, on Twitter at Monster Party HQ. Our Instagram handle is also Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please take a moment and write a review. We would love to hear from you. We are also now available on Google Play Music for those of you with Androids.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong!
Watch movies with psychopaths.
All right.
Some water, please. Rob, even though this topic is about psychopaths, this story doesn't necessarily go directly to that topic, but it is, I would say, adjacent because there was some psychopathic, arguably, behavior involved with this story. And even though it's not really about our topic, I would like you to tell the story, if you could, of when you got shot in the foot.
What?
Wow.
Sure.
Rob Cohen got shot in the foot as a child.
You got shot in the foot?
Yeah, in high school.
In high school.
Yes.
And so set the scene for us, if you could.
Fade in. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Party time.
And shot in Canada, which is even crazier.
It is crazier. The condensed version is...
Don't give us the condensed one.
No, it's very boring.
No. I'm interested. I'm just
okay.
riveted
So I
here.
went to high school with this guy. We'll call him Rob. Nami his name is Rob, and his dad owned a sporting goods store. And
Okay.
He and I were very good friends, but he was very weird. And so we had this giant chunk of land on the edge of the city. It was like a provincial game park called Fish Creek. Fish Creek Provincial Game Park.
Sounds scary.
Yeah. Yo, it's terrible. If you're terrified of fish or creeks, don't go to Fish Creek.
And I am.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So we decided to go there, and his dad owned a sporting goods store, and so we thought it'd be fun to shoot cans, like nothing with animals.
Like kids have done this.
Just normal-
like
sure.
cans.
Like pellet guns.
Yeah, pellet guns.
Normal gun hijinks.
Sure.
Right.
Just fun stuff. And so he brought a .22 rifle and like a Luger handgun. But it wasn't a Luger. It was like a .22 sort of simpler thing. And we went and just were shooting cans. And he had the .22, and we're standing there, and we're trying to decide another place to go in the this huge park. It was massive. And I heard this loud bang, and I saw the gravel and the dust by my right foot just sort of zoom away, and felt this insane, horrifying pain in my foot. And I looked down, and blood was going sideways out of my foot.
No.
But I couldn't figure out what happened, and then looked down and realized that Rob, the other Rob, had the .22 facing down, but it was loaded and it went off and it was aiming at my foot. So it shot me in the right side of my right foot and blasted the side of my right foot to bits.
Off?
No, not off, but just
A good
just
chunk.
a
Shattered.
chunk, and blood was flying like sideways. So realized something was wrong. Didn't know exactly what happened. So we had to get out of there. But because we were so far in there, we had to walk out. So I'm walking and bleeding like a maniac.
Now, have you wrapped it with anything,
no,
or
the whole thing was like, we got to just get out of here and get some sort of help.
And are you starting to feel woozy as
Yeah,
you're
very woozy.
Okay.
So
Did it hurt?
Oh yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, of course it hurt.
Well, he seems so mellow talking
It
about
was one of those soft bullets.
No, it was,
No, it's like, my foot was blown off.
blinding pain.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So that'll be a theme in this story. Is blinding pain.
Okay.
So I'm trying to give you the short version, but anyways, we walked and walked and walked and walked, and it was really hard because my foot was bleeding, and we didn't know what was going on. So we had to crest this hill to get to the highway to then go towards where the car was that he had borrowed, as you say, to get back. So as we crest the hill, these provincial game wardens cops come flying out of nowhere and grab us and arrest us.
Arrest you?
Yeah. And we didn't know what was happening, and I was already flipped out, and these guys just came up and grabbed us and cuffed us and threw us in the back of the car.
Your foot?
And they hurt. Did they hear the gunshots?
No,
or-
what had happened was somebody else was shooting at windshields of cars with pellet guns over the overpass of the highway. So they saw these two idiots with these guns, and they thought it was us.
Is that like Gun Violence Tuesday in Canada?
It
or
was
something?
crazy. It was crazy. It never happened. So they threw us in the back of their car, and they were asking us all these questions, but we were terrified, and we were stammering that it wasn't us because it wasn't. But I am bleeding out over their all-weather rubberized mats in the back of their car.
And do they notice that you're?
No, I didn't want to tell them because I thought we're already in enough trouble. Surely, if I explain that I'm shot, it would not help. So we're covering, and the other Rob is like stammering, and it's just terrible. So they get a call that they caught the guys that were shooting at the windshield, so they let us go. So we begged them for a ride, and we got a ride back to Rob's house where his mom was there. And so I thought, I'll go there, clean up, call my mom. She'll come get me, and we'll figure out what's going on. So we get in, and his mom was completely uninterested in anything we were doing. So she wouldn't even, like, do anything to make a call. So I was so frustrated. I went upstairs, called my mom, and she said she was going to come get me. But while I was there, I had the terrible idea, and this is where blinding pain comes back in.
Okay.
His dad had an architectural draftsman table with one of those big circular magnifying lens, right?
Okay.
On a gooseneck. So I went upstairs and took my bloody foot and peeled the sock off, which had like a giant grapefruit-sized hole, and my shoe, which had a giant grapefruit-sized hole, and plopped my foot on the table and took a nail file, the little, when a nail clipper, file that comes out, and I thought, I'll just dig whatever is out. And I was using the lens to look at my foot, so I could see what was wrong very clearly with the lens. And the minute I put the unsterilized thing in my foot, I flipped backwards in the chair because the pain was so much. I got blood all over his architectural table.
Oh my God.
But the thing is, I felt something in there, so I was like, I could go back in, or just let it be. And I thought, I'm going to go back in because I stupidly thought I could dig whatever it was out. So thankfully, my mom came, picked me up. Blood everywhere.
Oh my God.
She takes me home. She used to be a nurse. So then she realizes something's terribly wrong. I'll get to the ending very quickly. But
No, this is all good.
I'm ready.
I love these colors.
she took me to the hospital, and the nurse was there and said, we got to take an x-ray of your foot. So she takes my foot and slams it on this metal table. Not with the greatest of care. And my mom
Socialized medicine.
Totally. Exactly. So my mom flips out on her because she used to be a nurse. So they take all these x-rays and they find nothing. So the nurse says, your son is lying. I don't know what's going on. But there's a giant, meaty, pulsing, filthy hole in my foot. So
you're an up-and-coming special effects artist.
Exactly.
To fool them.
Yeah, I just thought I'd try out some of my new stuff. So she sends us home. I have to listen to her, and I'm so delirious now because I've lost all this blood, and it's exhausting, and it's been a crazy afternoon. So I go to sleep, and my mom says, wake me up if anything's wrong or whatever. Like, something's wrong, but we don't know what. So a couple hours later, I wake up, and my foot is about, I'm saying this wide, but I would say it's about 3 times wider than it should be, and it is.
And he's
purple.
this is a person with a big foot.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
a
a size
tall man.
13, ladies, so calm down. But it's horrific color and pulsing. So my mom races me back to the hospital, demands that we find the same nurse. She takes an x-ray and realizes she x-rayed it incorrectly the first time, and this time clearly sees a bullet in my foot. So they rush me into an operating room. Wow. The doctor goes, this foot is terribly infected. I have to cut it open right now. So he goes, are you allergic to? And that's all I remember him saying, because he starts jabbing needles into my foot, which I'm assuming was some sort of painkiller, but it wasn't working. And he goes, it's not working. I got to cut it. And so all I remember is sort of like tunnel vision where his tie, and I'm on this table, and my mom is like flipping out, and I'm looking at the clock on the wall because he's cutting open my foot basically without any painkiller. And it was so gross and infected that it exploded on his shirt, on his tie.
Serves them right.
Pus and horrible crap.
And like stuff from the park too, right?
Yeah,
like,
everything. They pulled bits of my sock. They pulled gravel out. They pulled a blue piece of my running shoe.
Oh my God.
And I just remember kind of like in MASH, you know, like you would hear plink. And I just remember finally hearing like plink, and he's like, we got it. So he held the bullet up. And my mom was like cursing everybody out, and I was like trying to calm her down. And I just remember focusing on the clock because that was the only thing that was keeping me from just losing my shit. So the end of the story, the real end of the story is they sew me up. I'm on antibiotics. A couple days later, I'm okay to go to school. And the one thing that the doctor says is just like, don't put any trauma on this foot. So my mom drives me to school. I walk up the stairs. I walk into school, and Rob Geist walks up to me and says something completely asshole to me and kicks me in the foot. And my sutures explode. And I turn right back around and go down to my mom, who's she's driving away, and I'm trying to like flag her down with this bloody foot. They have to re-sew it. So, anyways, that was the end of my friendship with Rob Geist.
Now, if I were
a
to
David Cronenberg story.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. If I were to write an ending, you would have saved that bullet, and then
It's a better ending than what happened.
re-gunpowdered it, and then used it on Rob.
It's true. I should have. But to the credit of the hospital, when they fixed it up that time and the infection went down, we went back and the doctor used a laser, like an early version of a sort of a plastic surgery laser, and cleaned it up really well. There's like a very faint line, but my foot is totally fine.
Wow.
And they said that because I was standing up and the gun was so close to my foot, the pressure my body was putting on the meat of my foot kept it from going into the rest of the foot and shattering the bones of my foot.
Wow. Well, there you go.
There you go,
Monster
guys.
Party
Story.
listeners.
Yeah. Monster Party.
That is
Check
what
it
you
out.
call, that is a story.
Take that, Dana.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Off
Yes.
topic. Enjoy.
I loved it.
So
Well, that's kind of
Your
horrible.
foot is completely healed? And
Yeah.
no trace of discomfort?
Are we going to get a shot of like your foot up here? You know,
It's hideous, but there's this thinnest white
So
line.
we could kick your foot now.
No.
It wouldn't hurt you.
No,
Punch me in the foot.
No, we would not. No, no one's gonna do that.
Do you have the X-ray so we can put it on Facebook?
I
No,
don't. This
what?
was a long time ago.
All I want is a shot of the foot.
Yeah. Can we get Korean animators to recreate this?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Okay. What a great story. Hey, listeners. Now, how about some bonus psychopaths? So, I feel that there's no way we can get through a topic about psychopaths without bringing up this film. I think we've talked about it before.
Sure.
But I have to bring it up.
Yeah.
Because it's one of my favorites, and it's one that I always keep going back to.
Okay.
And it's actually one of my wife's favorites.
Okay.
And that is The Stepfather.
Oh, yeah.
1987.
It's a good one.
Yes. And it's been remade, but the original with Carrie O'Quinn as the stepfather. And it's the basic story is opening scene is you see this guy changing his appearance in the bathroom. And at first he had a beard, now he shaved the beard off, and he makes his hair look a little different.
Yeah.
And he goes downstairs, and you see that everyone in this living room is dead, has been slaughtered.
No.
And he leaves. And the next scene is him with a new family.
Really?
And he's the
gonna
new,
start it all
he's
over
gonna
again.
Start it all over. He's the stepfather.
my God.
And he's the nicest guy in the world. A little creepy, of course, but His whole thing is that he goes into a new family, and the minute they disappoint him,
right,
that's when it...
If they're not perfect, if things aren't right.
Yeah. And it's great because along the lines of Misery in the screaming place, there are these scenes where there's a point where he's arguing with the daughter of this new family, and he gets frustrated and he goes downstairs to this basement work area where he does all his crafting and makes birdhouses and that kind of stuff, and freaks out and just starts screaming and yelling and like going through a tantrum. And the girl sees this, and that's like her. She knew something was wrong,
right,
with this guy because he's almost like too goody two shoes to be true.
Kind of like a little bit of Impulse in some ways.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, very much
like
so.
An 80s version.
But she sees this little tantrum and she's like, okay, this, that. And it's great. And the way that they pace this movie, because you find out little bits of information and you already know, like just the conceit of the way the movie starts. You know where the time bomb is.
Right.
And you're just waiting for it to go off.
Right, and just how it's going to happen.
And how it, and each little scene where he starts to kind of disintegrate just builds the tension. And it's a wonderful movie. And Carrie O'Quinn, who a lot of people might know from Lost, is wonderful.
Yeah, he's really good.
See the original.
So, and it's called again, Matt?
The Stepfather.
The Stepfather.
And there's a Stepfather 2. You don't really have to see that one.
Okay, and the date on that is The
That
Stepfather?
would be 1987.
87, okay.
That's a good one.
All right, that's a good one. All right. James?
I got another one from 1987, which I actually have not seen since I saw it in a theater that year. And it's called Tough Guys Don't Dance. And it was directed by Norman Mailer, based on his own novel. Now, Mailer was not a director, really. And it shows, because this movie is a gonzo mess. But one of the things I remember about it, for one thing, it's got this incredible scene where Ryan O'Neal plays an alcoholic who has these blackouts, and then he wakes up and
That's a stretch.
thinks he might have murdered people.
Sorry.
And Wings Hauser plays this corrupt police captain.
Talk about great psychopath performances. He's played a lot of them.
Every role he had was a
Pretty
psycho.
much, yeah.
There's this one amazing scene where O'Neill is on the beach and he's all like confused and he goes, oh man, oh God, oh man, oh God, and the camera just revolves around him. It's on YouTube. You cannot forget this movie. It is so bad, it's hysterical.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Wings Hauser somehow in the course of the movie he gets a stroke or something. And what I remember vividly, I wish I could remember more about it, but he gets a stroke, and this woman, I think it's Isabella Rossellini, had to have a hysterectomy, so she's crying in front of Wings Hauser, and she's like, "Why can't I have a baby?" And he's got his face is all out of proportion, and he goes, "'Cause you haven't got a womb." This is just
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
That sounds great.
You've got to see this movie. I'll download it and
Sure,
But you're saying it's a film that you're actually recommending?
I'm recommending it for
In such a
Or it's kind of train wreck entertainment.
Total train wreck.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Penn Jillette plays a priest.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, every
I'm
movie
there.
where he plays a priest is pretty bad.
Okay, look. Okay, that's great. Now, I'm going to bring up a film that we've talked about a lot, but I just don't want to do this show on Psychopaths without bringing it up, and I'm just going to say this. It's from 1980, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Jack Nicholson plays this guy, Jack Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
He and his family, it's made up of Shelley Duvall and I forget the little boy.
Danny Lloyd.
They are going to this resort that is closed during the wintertime because it's just there's so much snow, no one can actually function. And you would think, oh, skiing and stuff, but no. So he goes there basically to act as the caretaker. Mm-hmm. And so they go, and his idea is, well, I'm going to go, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be able to write my book. And you think everything is fine. And he meets the manager of the place.
Wait a minute. You think everything's fine?
No.
The very first scene in the movie, you're like, he's going to kill everyone.
I don't mean it like that, Matt. I meant that you think it seems like it's a normal thing. He's going to go up there, and the manager actually talks about, look, hey, we had an incident. The guy kind of the guy once before had like hacked up his family and stuff, and because it gets very lonely up here. Oh, that's not going to happen to me.
I brought some books.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be working on my book. But he basically goes through this psychopathic moment. Where
But is he a psychopath?
Well, that's how I view it.
Or is he
as,
possessed?
No. I don't see it as possessed. Or
Would he have done that?
Without the influence of the hotel.
The Overlook possessed him. The Overlook had influence over him.
So you guys don't think he's a psychopath?
Well, I think he becomes a he does psychopathic things because of the influence of the hotel. So,
but that's a good argument, I would think, to have. Is it like, does that fall within the definition of psychopath? If someone's possessed,
we've talked. We've talked about The Shining on a lot of different shows. I didn't want to monopolize, but I just wanted to bring that up. I did think that he fell into that category, and he gives a great performance.
I do love him.
And Shelley Duvall is great. The little boy is terrific. It is a really creepy film. Scatman Crothers, who I love, and
I would say another Kubrick film where you have a real true psychopath would be Alex from A Clockwork Orange.
Sure.
Well, he's almost like
he's
like clinical definition of psychopath.
Clinical definition, right? Well, yes, but that is interesting because wasn't it one of our recent guests? Was it G. Charles Wright who said from reading the book that he didn't like the performance of Jack Nicholson as much because right from the get-go you think he's going to go off the edge, whereas in the book it wasn't like that.
I think it was Jeffrey Combs who brought that up.
Oh, maybe it was Jeffrey Combs. You're right.
I thought it was also G. Charles Wright.
Maybe, but if that's the case, like Larry, you're saying, then if right from the beginning, at least in Jack Nicholson's performance of Jack Torrance, you could say that maybe he had that psychopathic tendencies already kind of a little bit brimming inside.
It's funny
that the Overlook Hotel brought them out.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's funny because I think all of you guys read the book. I'm one of the guys that I have not read the book. I just saw the movie.
What was the last book you read? Charlotte's Web, or
you got something wrong with Charlotte's Web?
No, it's great.
Goosebumps?
Yeah.
I
prefer the movie.
Off the top of my head,
Paul Lynde as a rat. Come on,
Templeton. Yeah, he did a great job.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Of
Me too.
But that's the thing. So it could be like the evil force of the hotel simply magnifies something that's already dark inside him.
Well, especially in the movie, and that's one of those things that I'm like you. I think when it comes to The Shining,
you're pointing to James.
To James, yes. When I first saw it, wasn't sure I liked it because it was so different from the book. I mean, it kind of really isn't the book at all in a lot of ways. But over the years, I've come to really enjoy it just because how beautiful it is, first of all, and the performances are really entertaining. And Jack Nicholson, it's funny. It's like that character. Maybe I think I'm coming back to your way of thinking, Larry, which is that he is a psychopath. He was waiting for the Overlook so he could kill everyone. That's all he's been wanting to do.
Well, he was already an alcoholic. And he had already abused, physically abused
his kid. We know
the Overlook
that
was the catalyst that kind of like, or the trigger.
Exactly.
So there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I have one which, again, it's not by any means a great movie, and it's a little obscure, but it's a great psychopathic performance.
I hope it's what I'm thinking you're going to say.
This is from 1974, directed by Freddie Francis. It's called Craze. And it's with Jack Palance as an antiques dealer in London, and he and his kind of sexually ambiguous partner run this antiques shop, but down in the basement, Jack Palance has this African idol called Chuku, which he worships, and he
who wouldn't?
He thinks that all of his good fortune and all of his fate it hinges on him sacrificing women to Chuku. So the whole movie is basically
you haven't lost me yet.
Yeah, the whole movie is Palance, bringing hot chicks down to the basement, and there's like Chuku needs a sacrifice.
Hey, that's pretty good.
It's like your typical like 70s movie where like creepy Jack Palance can go into like a go-go club and pick up the hottest chick
because he's wearing an ascot.
Yeah, just like that, and take her back to his place. It's a very crude movie, a very over-the-top movie, but it's really entertaining. Diana Dors is in it. Susie Kendall. Julie Edge, a really beautiful actress who, for some reason, just falls for Jack Palance just like that. It's really crazy. It's definitely not a subtle movie, but lots of Jack Palance psychopathic scenes. So it's worth seeing.
A little like Carolyn Monroe falling for Joe Spinell in Maniac,
which was the next one I was going to bring up. We can't bring up psychopaths without bringing up Joe Spinell as Frank Zito.
And we have talked about this film quite a bit, especially during our William Lustig episode. But it is great. I really do enjoy it. And Joe Spinell is terrific.
So just so
Frightening.
so compelling and frightening, and like perfect. Talk about a descent into one man's madness. Great psychopathic movie.
Can I just chime in, because you know what I thought you were going to bring up, because this is a movie that Sean turned me on to.
Okay.
Called The Psychopath.
Oh, yes.
1973.
Yeah.
And it's like this kids show host.
Yeah.
Who-
Mr. Raby.
Mr. Raby. Mr. Raby. Isn't that great?
Mr. Raby.
Yeah, it's like he finds out that the kids who are like his show, their parents are abusing them. So he goes on and starts killing the parents.
What a great concept for a movie, right? Right? And it's, look, it's
Oh my gosh.
it's not a A-list production, but it's very entertaining, and it's a great idea.
And what's really weird is that I think Joe Spinell almost did like a kind of a semi-remake of that. He played a Mr. Raby. They were trying to do like a kind of a semi-remake of that movie. I think it did like an unfinished movie or something with
Oh my
Joe
God.
Spinell.
Wow.
So but the Psychopath is a very obscure.
Leonardo DiCaprio, it's up to you now.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a crazy one.
With Cape Fear earlier, you brought up Robert Mitchum. There's another classic Mitchum psychopath movie, Night of the Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Which is from 1955. He plays a Reverend Harry Powell, but he's a homicidal maniac.
Yes, who has love and hate tattooed on his knuckles.
Is that the one with Shelley Winters?
Shelley Winters, yeah.
And she's
Good one.
really great in that
Yeah.
too.
It's
it's a
so
great
great, and it is unique because it is the only film directed by Charles Lawton.
That's true.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Lillian Gish is in it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, very old
Good one.
Lillian Gish. It's so wonderful. It has almost like a dreamlike quality. The shots.
Yeah. And it's told largely through the eyes of these two little kids
Yeah.
who he victimizes.
Yes. It's a shame that Charles Lawton didn't direct more films, because I would be interested to see what he would have done.
Some of the cinematography is stunning.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got one. I can't imagine us ignoring this or not bringing this up. And this is from 1978, Halloween. Michael Myers.
course.
To me, he's like the ultimate psychopath. Next to Norman Bates, I think, in Psycho. But, think about it. Here's this kid. This is directed by John Carpenter, written by both John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, starring Jamie Lee Curtis as the lovely Laurie Strode and Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. But here we have a story of there's this...
Who seems like he should be the psychopath.
You know what? It's funny if you can, because if you can get out of the Fantastic Voyage image of him, I love him. I really do.
In anything.
He is one of those
In
guys that
anything.
has one of these great voices. But for people who are not familiar with it, you have this child, basically, who the film starts out, this child commits this vicious murder in his house with his sister. But this is this kid. He's been in like a mental institution for all this time, and for this one night on Halloween, he comes back. He comes back to the area where in the home where he was as a kid, and basically wreaks havoc. And I think of him as being the ultimate psychopath.
You know what's great about Michael Myers is that it reminds me of when we had Fred Belford on, and we were talking about villains.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Fred was saying how, he likes the kind of villain that's just evil, that you don't feel sympathetic for,
He's just he's like a force of nature.
just a force of evil. And that's what makes Michael Myers, I think, so special.
Right. Carpenter made him as literally the boogeyman.
Yeah. And it really takes Donald Pleasance to flesh him out.
Yeah.
That's true.
You could argue that he makes him scary by all the stuff that he says. I looked behind his eyes and I saw nothing.
And it's those, he has these great lines which sum up Michael Myers really well. And yeah, I would agree with that. I think
I realized what was behind those eyes was purely, simply evil.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank
That's
you
the line.
very much.
Yeah,
and of course, the
sweet.
film was so popular and so successful, it went on to spawn a ton of Michael Myers films.
And it's
But the
interesting,
classic,
though-
the first one is, I think, the best.
It's interesting, though, that especially in the height of the slasher boom, you kind of had two types of slashers. You had the types where it was a whodunit where you didn't know who the killer was. So it really was just like somebody's killing all these people, we don't know who. But then there was the kind of like study of the killer, like Maniac, or where it's like you're along the ride with the crazy person who's doing it. You're in his world, So there's always those two kinds, because the other one was like, oh, the killer's a mask at the end. You find out who it is.
Yeah,
but there was the other kind too.
Yeah, and it's funny that you should bring that one up, because then it reminds me of yet another Russ Meyer film.
Oh.
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, that's true. Right.
And that's like, I don't even want to say anything about the ending of that one. But there is a psychopath in that movie, and there's a twist that I'm telling you, you don't see coming.
A movie written by Roger. I didn't like Blue Velvet. Ebert. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you understand that was early in his career before he became a famous, critic, and then went on
but I would argue that's a great movie.
Yeah,
that is
totally.
pure entertainment
Yep.
Nice.
from beginning to end.